You can't ignore the tiny but not 0% risk of these blood clotting events. Okay, whether it's 1 in 100,000, 1 in 200,000, 1 in 250,000, it's pretty clear that it's rare. But I can't look you in the eye and tell you with 100% certainty what the exact incidence is, because if you look at different countries, they have slightly different. But it is safe to say that.
Okay, we're going through recordings now. Okay.
C'est une manière de décourager la contamination. La particularité avec ce dispositif, c'est que vous avez, vous touchez à rien. C'est une manière de décourager la contamination en chaîne. Vous avez les savons, vous avez l'eau qui jaillit automatiquement. Vous pouvez sécher le main. Et une autre particularité, vous avez les thermoflash. Et donc, pendant que vous êtes en train de vous laver les mains, on vous prélève la température. Et alors, ces dispositifs, au-delà de ces lave-mains, viennent de permettre à la disposition de ces programmes de lutte contre cette pandémie, une cellule de maintenance des équipements, tous les équipements médicaux qui sont utilisés pour la prise en charge des malades. Et ce service est gratuit.
Yeah. Gang like record, like record, I'm on his back. Yeah. Hunger driving my motivation, no tolerance, running short of patience. Skip gold and I collect 200. That's the shit that got me dreaming robberies. When pops left, it was the block that fathered me. Got a problem, load the weapon, that's how you solve it, that's what it taught to me. And it's how I face.
I'm gonna go over this guy's triggers again. Me lighting a joint, black women's voice, anything to do with First Nations.
On the bottom of me, put me in the direction where the bottom be. This is just how it's born to be. Some come to this world with diamonds and pearls, some come to poverty. But when I teach us right and wrong, how could you say that we wrong? This is all we know, so gotta be right. Or maybe it's left, but it's all we got left. And I thug it to my last breath. Truly, peace and love to the ones that knew me and fuck the rest. I mean it, and she know. But I walk up this door, it might be for the last time. They always bring the break. And it's right before they die. That's why I tell her I love her just in case today's my day to shine. Mother forgive. You should be sad.
What exactly is the given reason for this delay? Jesus Christ. I love how, you're going to keep loading the same track over and over. We're nowhere near that in the playlist. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's so skilled. The hacking is so incredible that's going on here. I'm impressed and terrified at the same time. Anyway, I'll stop right here. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. It literally went all the way back to the very first track. It was off for no particularly good reason. Hilarious, hilarious, hilarious. It's hilarious what's going on here. You're such a skilled hacker, Promo. Skip 3 more of them, please. I just did them one at a time. That's 3. That's 4.
In the place that I live.
1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. It's fucking ridiculous how much effort these people spend on harassing us. This is how much effort.
I've seen this moment in my dreams.
This is the pathology. This is the
I'll make a pact with
pathology.
you.
They don't ever stop. They don't ever let go. 35 years are still. I owe them something. No, I don't.
Fuck with my gang, bang, you get fucked, you bang, bang, you don't give a fuck. Cut, cocaine, yeah, in the cut. Dug, your brain, lean in the cut. If you fuck with my gang, you get bang, you get fucked. Bang, bang, you get fucked. I'm looking at the question, I'm to my fingers, I'm from the list. Up in the cups, I'm looking at victims, it's all with the hammer. This is how I read, it's bigger when we speaking. Talking at basically, you see, it's when you see it, the level of getting it, the event, and you repeating the voice. Stop off this shit, addicted to voices, it's you know what the poison, take them on venomous, in the face with blood. All your moves, you bring the post, and it's not gonna know, it's what you blazing up. Pushing the block, we begging to make the run, no good the bases, so I'm gonna be killing, but we're killing some other Pacific, but I'm good, keeping the real, take on my legs, a little woman, get bitches, sexy bitches, and we keep my face for bridges, fucking head is the venom, swinging the angels of praying, and bitches, singing the space, the bitches, the keys, the cooking, the pushing the peace, using the feet on the peaceful ways, devils are pushing the weakness, nobody prays, believing in Jesus, heaven to face the fake, lead the fake, never give a fuck, bro, bang, bang, Dug, your brain, ain't in the cut, if you fuck with my gang, you get bang, you get fucked, if you bang, bang, never give a fuck, cut, cocaine, yeah, in the cut, Dug, your brain, ain't in the cut, if you fuck with my gang, you get bang, you get fucked, bang, bang, you get fucked.
I can feel the depth creeping and I heard it once was sold. Later on, they trying to fight it. He already got a hold. Got a pocket full of cash, black rag by my side. It's this gang life on me and we all down the ride. Look your up in the sky. If you riding like you cheap, spit the demons in the dark. But he's never trying to see. Got the status of a red dog. Chopping soft and ripping hard. Gamble with the scene and roll the dice and I'm a bodyguard. Leader on the beat, but you had to put me in. Now I'm rolling with my gang, my brothers, and we out to here. Yeah, yo, got me tripping and the whiskey got me tripping and I'm always on my grind. So yo, I'm bound to catch you slipping, but I'ma pop another pill, hoping there to make me chill. My demon talk to me, say you kill. Put myself into the fucking ground. Do my blow up by the amps, pour it off the line. Your number 10, you a fucking mouth.
Dug, your brain, ain't in the cut, if you fuck with my gang, you get bang, you get fucked, if you bang, bang, never give a fuck, cut, cocaine, yeah, in the cut, Dug, your brain, ain't in the cut, if you fuck with my gang, you get bang, you get fucked, bang, bang, you get fucked.
Fuck my enemies, I'm looking over my shoulder, watching for police. I'm paranoid, these cops on steroids, fingers and triggers just itching to squeeze. Yeah, the devil's on my back, trying to break me, and I ain't talked to God lately. I feel like heaven is forsaking me. This gun, all it does is trip me. I just crack the bottle, won't be long till it's empty. Oh, Mary Jane, won't you help me fly away? I don't want to feel the
fucking hour to smoke this
so
shit.
now I'm all stuck on the
You wasted our
rain. We are not the same. I do more to make the track bang. I'm in the cut with a crack slack. Yeah, memories the time.
Every time I look towards the machine, it becomes overloaded with all the input. See if it'll skip 30 or 40 tracks this time on his own again.
In the place that I live. Yeah. Ain't hard to maneuver. Because, trust me, dog, you ain't prepared to do what I'm prepared to do. Work the car, the artillery I got, cause you ain't having to change on. Let the chat, lay down. Listen, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Murder in the first degree, homicide in my crib, a rat sweet. She's jamming needle in her arm, now she can't speak. It's a cold world that we live in, take it from me. Yeah, in the end, everything I see and have seen is but a dream within a dream. Long days, cold nights, serving fiends. There ain't no peace, all I see is violence in the streets. Junkies in the alleyway, homie broke us by any means. Random robberies just to feed. Close your eyes, imagine what it's like to be me. Is this the nature of the beast? No warning, it's a secret team. We put the competition apart, but the couple thought make it start. He played until he passed on. I grown man, cry like a hoe.
We have two problems on the 401 westbound. A new problem just west of Yonge in the transfer to the collectors. The right lane is blocked because of a stalled vehicle, so it's getting backed up from Yonge in the express. Then westbound 401 approaching Highway 25, the right lane blocked, another stalled vehicle there. It is jam-packed. Westbound 401 approaching Highway.
Flags off, we go back to the song. I keep the scrap like an ace in the hat. Yeah, I'd rather get caught with it than with all where I'm at. Got no time for rats. Tell Brooke they can kiss her ass. We don't talk to police, got no respect for the bad. That's why I keep the gun in mass ready next to the staff. You can't play me, it's the nature of the beast. The nature of the beast, it's the nature of the beast. Say you can't play me, it's the nature of the beast. The nature of the beast, nature of the beast. Say you can't play me, it's the nature of the beast. The nature of the beast, the nature of the beast. Say you can't play me, it's the nature of the beast. Nature of the beast, yeah, the nature of the beast. I'm jumping on deck with my hand on my tech. Disrespect the mob and get your face in your lap. You claiming you hardcore, we're doing bass in the trap. I'm loading my gun up, and where the fuck boys at? It's murder, homie. Don't talk shit, get your burner, homie. Chrome on me, and I'm down for the first degree. First 48, and my cousin on tape. Cutting the cop up with a dirty razor blade. These days are crazy, but we stay getting paid. Fuck with the boss, so when your homework is great. I'm hanging with real killers and slanging with drug dealers. My city's a melting pot, controlled by the devil's plot. Don't care if you're ready or not, leave you dead on the block. We step ahead of the cop, G's up, holes down. I'm joking around, catch you smoking a pound in your hood, holding it down. Kill a king, holding the crown. You can't play me, it's the nature of the beast. The nature of the beast, it's the nature of the beast. Say you can't.
Increasing efforts in COVID hotspots. To date, over 907,070 COVID-19 vaccine doses have been administered in the city of Toronto. 29.2% of adults in the city have received at least their first dose. That's 1 in 3 adults already with a dose of vaccine. We have more work to do, but we are getting shots in the arms with efforts to step up in the days ahead. The Team Toronto effort is focused on getting as many residents vaccinated as quickly as possible based on available supply. And we are focused on getting the shots that we do have in the arms of residents in the hotspot neighborhoods, the place where our public health officials say these vaccines are most needed and can make the biggest difference. People born in 1961 or earlier and aged 50 or older who live in hotspot neighborhoods, as identified by postal code, can book vaccination appointments online or by phone at city-run COVID-19 vaccination clinics. And we continue to have pop-up and mobile clinics vaccinating residents 18 plus in postal code hotspots. For example, this past Saturday, a team comprised of community ambassadors, volunteers, clinical teams from across the city formed a pop-up clinic on the basketball courts at 15 Tobermory Drive.
That's illegal. You can't hang out on the basketball court.
140 residents in the M3N postal code. This was an all-hands-on-deck effort. They made it an event. They publicized it locally at the grassroots level, and it worked. And that is why we're going to do this or some variation on this over and over and over again, in addition to our city-run clinics. The Tobermory team, if I can call it that, included, just to give you a sense of the range of who was involved in making this such a success. The Tobermory team included the Black Creek Community Health Centre, the Parkdale Queen West Community Health Centre, East Toronto Health Partners, Midwest Ontario Health Team, the Humber River Hospital, the Sinai Health System, the University Health Network, UHN, Women's College Hospital, and Global Medic. All of those people were involved in making sure we got those 3,000 people to the clinic and got them vaccinated. It's a real example of Team Toronto at work. Partners in a vaccination coalition combining forces to get shots in the arms of our hotspot neighborhood residents. Clinics in Parkway Forest, led by the North York Toronto Health Partners, and in Crescent Town, led by the East Toronto Health Partners, also took place over the weekend with similar positive response and the same kind of fantastic teamwork. This has been done in part with the assistance of a partial reallocation of some of the vaccine supply from our city-operated clinics, and we continue to find ways, including that, to ramp up our combined team efforts. I was glad to see the province move Sunday to allow all residents 40 and older to register to get AstraZeneca from our pharmacies. I encourage anyone who is eligible to get the AstraZeneca shot. This is the same vaccine that I got over a week ago. I feel great, and most importantly, I know that I'm on my way to becoming fully immunized. So if you are eligible, please book your shot or get on your pharmacy's wait list.
And then
our health
Biden
officials have been clear
down.
that all of the vaccines are safe. Now is one of the most important moments, in fact, one of those very important moments during the pandemic when we all need to work together to confront this terrible virus, a virus that has been strengthened by the variants.
I thought it was HIV,
We need people to do
methamphetamine,
the right
crack,
thing
black on
and to
black
get
violence, gun
vaccinated
violence,
as soon
gangs.
as they have the opportunity. We
What's
need
the
all of our
epidemic du
vaccination
jour?
partners working together to
Look
keep
up the
administering the
bubonic plague in
vaccines and to be ready,
Mongolia.
which we are when we get additional supply, ready with the capacity to absorb and put to good use right away that additional supply when we get it. We need all governments working together. The best way that we as leaders of governments can show that we truly understand the gravity of the situation, the tragedy that it is causing, and the tremendous anxiety and frustration it is causing among the people we all represent. The best way that we show we get it is by working together to defeat this virus. I met with the GTHA mayors and chairs again today to make sure that our local efforts in this region are coordinated. All of the GTHA mayors and chairs are thankful that Prime Minister Trudeau and Premier Ford are working together to help get more help in place in our region and to help combat the third wave of this pandemic. We stated clearly today that we welcome any additional health resources that can be deployed in the GTHA right now. And that includes the resources offered from other parts of the country, thanks to the Prime Minister's efforts, and the extra allocation of vaccines in the GTHA committed by the Premier. The situation is incredibly serious right now. It's incredibly serious. I know the vast majority of Toronto residents know that, and they want to do everything that they can to save lives and to protect each other. I know that the case numbers are right now are scary. They're scary. They're like none other that we've seen throughout the whole year plus of this pandemic. I said earlier that I recognize the fact that people are frustrated, big time, extremely frustrated with the entire situation. But we will get through this. We can get through this. We must get through this. We can stop this virus. We will get everyone vaccinated. We're well on the way. Solid progress that we have made with much more to be done, and with us ramping up our efforts to make sure that it gets done. We simply have to stick together. And that means supporting each other. That means government, and it means people sticking together and supporting each other. That's the only way in which we will get this done. It's now time for Dr. Davila to offer her report for today.
Thank you, Mayor Tory, and good afternoon. Today, I am reporting 1,477 cases of COVID-19. Since last Thursday, we have reported 6,976 cases. There are 65 new hospitalizations to report, bringing the number of people in hospital to 881. 184 of them are in ICU. I'm sorry to report the loss of 6 more lives to COVID-19. Good news is in short supply these days, so I'm happy that, as you heard from the mayor, mobile clinics over the weekend made a huge difference in the delivery of close to 5,500 vaccinations. Community leadership is an essential driver of those accomplishments over the weekend and going forward. Those community-driven clinics and community-driven awareness are vital to getting needles in arms and to addressing hesitancy. That's the extent of the good news, because the factors limiting it are many and threatening. To meet the threats, we need to do 4 key things. There is no question we need to acquire as much vaccine as we can get our hands on. But at this moment, most importantly, we need to double down on public health measures to disrupt transmission. We then need, as individuals, to do everything we can to act in ways that support results from those measures. And finally, while we manage what supply we have at present, we need to target carefully and wisely for maximum effect. Prioritizing vaccine delivery is the most efficient way to bring the spread under control in the places and populations where it is highest and most threatening. Last week, the chair of the province's science advisory table said that it would take 59 vaccinations on a per capita basis to prevent 1 new case of COVID-19. A per capita basis is a broad-based approach to vaccine delivery. But 36 targeted vaccinations delivered in hotspots where infections are high, where risk of infection is high, and where there are concentrations of frontline and essential workers. Just 36 targeted vaccines would prevent a new case of COVID-19. Mobile clinics and focus on hotspots reaches those targets and delivers that advantage. If we limit the spread there, we limit the spread everywhere. Doing that will make a difference to every person who lives in Toronto. The Premier is right when he says that we need more vaccines for Toronto, for the GTHA, for the province. We also need provisions to allow people to stay apart if they're ill. This includes paid sick days, even on a temporary emergency basis, so that people can afford to stay home if they're sick. The science supports this. As well, we need measures that will meaningfully limit transmission to make it harder for the virus to spread. This includes the capacity to swiftly and decisively act to make sure essential workplaces are safe places to work and aren't facilitating spread. There are significant ongoing discussions across the health sector to provide the province with advice on what more must be done to turn back this dangerous and surging level of transmission. The extent of the threat suggests the spread of the virus is not solved locally. I am amongst many peers who see the circumstances demanding a province-wide strategy. The variants have demonstrated that they are effective at being relentless. While they took a little longer to reach exponential growth than predicted, they have done exactly as expected. On February 8th, I said to you, today we are in a transition from one pandemic to another, a transition to a new pandemic. On February 17th, I said, I have never been as worried about the future as I am today. It's obvious now we are well into the worst part of the pandemic so far, and there are steps yet to take to get through it, to get past it, and put it behind us. With that, I'll now turn it over to Chief Pegg to deliver his remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Davila. Good afternoon. Since April 12th, all of our 9 city-operated COVID-19 vaccine clinics have been operating daily, with appointments available between 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. 7 days per week. All 9 clinics continue to operate efficiently and smoothly, with each clinic operating either at or very near maximum capacity on a daily basis, based on vaccine availability. Wait times for those who arrive shortly before their scheduled appointment are very short, with most people not having to wait at all. In fact, the majority of people are checked in, vaccinated, and checked out of the clinic in about 30 minutes. The number of appointments that are made available in city-operated vaccine clinics corresponds directly with the number of doses of vaccine that are available to be administered. At present, we are able to administer 56,322 doses of vaccine each week across the network of city-operated clinics. We intentionally scale our clinic operations in order to protect vaccine allotment for our hospital and Ontario Health Team partners as well, such that their clinic operations are able to continue to the largest extent possible. Our immunization task force continues to be focused on vaccinating as many people as possible, as quickly as possible. This is a goal supported by our Team Toronto partners, including the City of Toronto, Ontario Health Teams, hospitals, pharmacies, and primary care physicians, all of whom are working in collaboration to maximize vaccine rollout across Toronto, including supporting mobile clinics as part of Phase 2. In direct collaboration with Dr. Davila and our Immunization Task Force Command Team, we are hard at work identifying opportunities to further optimize the allocation and rollout of vaccine across Toronto. This includes looking at a number of options to prioritize the administration of COVID-19 vaccine in hotspot neighborhoods. By optimizing both our city-operated vaccine clinic operations, while also maximizing the supports we are able to provide to our hospital and Ontario Health Team partners for community-based mobile and pop-up clinics, we can ensure the most effective administration of vaccine in our city. As additional vaccine becomes available, we look forward to being able to significantly expand operations in our vaccine clinics, as well as in both mobile and pop-up clinic operations. Further information as to current opportunities to receive COVID-19 vaccine can be obtained at toronto.ca/COVID-19, as well as through our Team Toronto Hospital and Ontario Health Team partner website at vaccineto.ca. Eligible residents can book their vaccine appointment in city-operated clinics by accessing the online provincial booking system at toronto.ca/COVID-19 or via the provincial call center at 1-888-999-6488. On April 15th, the province of Ontario issued amended regulations resulting in the implementation of further COVID-19 restrictions. Since the announcement of these changes on Friday afternoon, our staff have been working around the clock to assess and respond to these changes, including the modification of city service delivery models where necessary. We will continue to provide the essential and critical services that our residents require without interruption, as we have throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. By order of provincial regulation, city-operated recreation amenities in parks such as tennis courts, soccer fields, basketball courts, fitness equipment, and each of the city-operated golf courses must close. The full list of amenities that have been closed by provincial order can be found on our website at toronto.ca. Beginning today, city staff have begun closing all affected outdoor recreation amenities. Given the volume of outdoor recreation amenities in Toronto, which are spread across the city's network of more than 1,500 parks, we estimate that it will take approximately 1 week to close all of the amenities ordered closed by the province of Ontario and to post the required signage. All gated amenities will be closed and locked, and signage will be posted advising of the closure. The following city-operated outdoor recreation amenities were not included in the provincial order and will remain open: city parks and playgrounds, off-leash dog areas, outdoor allotment gardens and community gardens, park washrooms, and park benches. While city parks and public spaces offer the space to socially distance, they are a shared space, and everyone has a responsibility to act respectfully and follow provincial orders and city bylaws. Thank you for all that you're doing each day to help stop the spread of COVID-19 in Toronto. Please continue to monitor toronto.ca/COVID-19 for the most up-to-date information on COVID-19 and immunizations in Toronto. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We'll go to questions now. Just a reminder to please unmute yourself. We'll go first to Mark McAllister from City News. Mark?
Thank you very much. We saw the province on Friday and over the weekend introduce the measures that Chief Begg just referred to. Dr. Davila, we haven't heard from you. I know Mayor Tory, you had spoken about what had taken place over the weekends. Let's start with Dr. Davila then, if I get your reaction to the measures that have been put in place and the fact that some pivot needed to be made, and are the appropriate restrictions in place at this point in your opinion?
So thanks, Mark, for the question. You know, I can't really comment very much on what the province does or you know, what they're thinking as they make their decisions. I am sure that it's a very challenging situation that they find themselves in. I will say a couple of things. One, I've talked about the extent of the threat that COVID-19 presents, and it's a significant one. And just given the extent of the threat, this is not a situation that can be solved locally. Clearly, this is a province-wide situation that calls for province-wide action. And I think I outlined in my remarks a number of things I think that must be true or that we must work to make true. One is to acquire more vaccines as much as we can. Absolutely. This is an important part of our strategy. Another piece, of course, relates to public health measures. And effectively, what we're talking about are measures that can be implemented and made to work in a fashion that supports the ability for people to stay apart as much as is possible. As challenging as that is, we know that we're talking about a disease that spreads from person to person. So the more we are able to keep people apart and to limit social interaction and interaction between people, such that you're really focused mostly on those with whom you live and only going out for the most essential of items, that's what's really important now in order to reduce transmission. I cannot emphasize that enough. So there are certainly things that governments can do. I talked about the kinds of things that can be done to enhance safety in essential workplaces. I've talked about paid sick days. These are just a couple of the examples of things that can be done to support that. But at the end of the day, each of us has a role to play as individuals around keeping our distance to the greatest extent possible, not interacting with others, really focusing on maintaining that distance so we can actually bring transmission down and let vaccines, as they become more plentiful, really do the work that they need to do. So, you know, at a high-level summary, that's what I would provide, Mark. I don't know whether the mayor has anything he wanted to add further to that.
Well, of course, I wholly support everything that Dr. Davila has just said, and would just add one thing, which is that I think there is a real need for us, if we're going to work together, and I think that while it is definitely a province-wide problem that requires province-wide solutions, the need for us all to keep talking to each other, and that's local people and regional people and provincial people and even national people, is as strong as ever. And when I met the GTHA mayors and chairs today, we talked about the need for continuous, ongoing discussions between the province, the local governments, and the science advisors with respect to what public health measures would be in place from time to time. And that's just something where I think as this changes rapidly, so too do we have to make sure that whatever it is that's being done adapts itself to that and is the most effective suite of measures possible to wipe this virus out.
Thank you. Different question with regard to the community mobile clinics. Mayor, you spoke about the success of the one at Tober Memorial over the weekend. I'm just wondering at this point if both you and Dr. Davila could speak to perhaps the fact that it was surprising that we've seen the lineups that we have again this morning at another location, and what that says about the worries before this point about hesitancy in those communities. And perhaps this brings up a different concern. Can we keep up with the demand in those areas?
Well, I will start simply by saying that is why quite a long time ago we That is why quite some time ago we began a process of going to the grassroots with a program that we announced and ambassadors we sent into the community, utilizing the community health organizations, because we knew just from the initial response that in some of those neighborhoods it was going to take a different kind of effort to reach people who, for one reason or another, would be hard to reach. And sometimes when we see the success of clinics like we had this past weekend, we act as if it's the first one of its kind. And the fact is, this was very successful. It was probably the biggest team effort we've seen, but in fact, it is not an exaggeration to say there have been hundreds of these local clinics put on mainly by our hospital partners so far, as we have increased our efforts to include in a meaningful way with funding and with other kinds of support the community health organizations. We're having more and more success reaching people who previously had indicated some hesitation, or perhaps they just didn't have the same information that they needed to get access to the vaccines. And so I would just say it's happening exactly the way that those programs intended, whereas as we get the resources in place, get the community organizations behind them, turn them into an event, make it a citywide effort so we're all in there together, getting people out to get vaccinated. Yes, you have a lineup. That's a good thing. I mean, the lineup disperses eventually because people get vaccinated, and that's exactly what we're going to continue to do, as I said, over and over and over again for many weeks to come.
So I think the only thing I would add to that is that, it's absolutely correct. The mayor speaks of the partnership and collaboration amongst the many participants who made those clinics a success and made them a reality. But I can't emphasize enough how important that community leadership is. The mayor referenced that, having people in the community, trusted leaders within the community who are able to speak to, the safety of vaccine and to encourage local community members of the benefits of getting vaccinated. It is absolutely fundamental to the kind of success that was witnessed over the weekend. And I think it is really, really promising and very, very exciting from a public health perspective to see the interest that was displayed and hopefully will continue to be displayed on a go-forward basis. My sincere hope is that supply issues that have been experienced over the past many weeks, you've heard us talk about this, will start to resolve, and that we'll be able to better meet the demand and the interest that has been generated, thanks to the amazing leadership of community partners that are out there doing some very, very important work that we can't thank them enough for. So we'll look forward to working with our partners and continue to improve the service delivery and continue to improve the vaccination efforts as supply increases and as time goes on.
Thank you. We'll go next to Francine Copeland from the Toronto Star. Francine? Unmute yourself, Francine. There you go.
Yeah, sorry, I had some trouble with the mute button. So my question is, Mayor Tory and Dr. Davila, you've both spoken in the past about the fatigue that some people are feeling more than a year into this pandemic. And last week we saw the province enact measures only to walk them back quite quickly. And I'm wondering, what impact does bouncing back and forth have on the public, which is already experiencing this, fatigue with the back and forth?
So I'll start and just say this. I think people's confidence is maximized and is maintained when you're seen to do the right thing. And there are different ways you can end up getting to the right thing, and because we're all human beings. And in this case, I think we ended up in the right place vis-a-vis, say, the police issue or vis-a-vis the playground issue. And I think if you end up in the right place, then you will maintain public confidence and not make worse these feelings of fatigue and frustration that people feel. And I think that we've got other issues we've got to continue to work on to make sure that we can maintain public confidence. Public confidence is something that is difficult to maintain at the best of times. When you're in jobs like all of us are in, it is a very difficult challenge because you've got 3 million people out there you're serving that all have different views on how things should be done or when they should be done, who's doing them, and this kind of thing. But I think it's important in order to maintain public confidence that you end up in the right place. And so to me, that is a chapter that we have been through. We've ended up in the right place on both of those issues, and we can now go forward and address some of the other continuing challenges we face, starting with getting people vaccinated and with having the right public health measures in place to protect their health and to protect the healthcare system.
Yeah, Francine, I think the only thing I would add is that it's interesting to me as I reflect back on the course of the whole pandemic. It kind of speaks to the challenges of trying to balance the interests of many and in a rapidly evolving environment. So I think the mayor is quite right that it is good to see things change, right? Decisions made and change so that things end up in the right place. That's a very important, I think, component of decision making, and it's important to change when the circumstances warrant that. But I think that what the situation speaks to is that very, very difficult balance of trying to meet the needs of many in a complex and constantly evolving environment. That's been the entire course of the pandemic, I would say.
My second question is for Dr. Davila. You've mentioned a couple of times, you've mentioned the importance of a province-wide action. And I'm wondering what actions you think the province needs to undertake that haven't already been undertaken.
So Francine, we are having ongoing conversations with the province, and so I'm not going to get into great detail, around what the substance of those conversations are. I did allude to a number of the things that I think would make a difference. Talked about, workplaces and ensuring that there are provisions in place to support people to stay home when they're sick. I think that's an important component, certainly, and ensuring that workplaces are as safe as possible, that they're complying with all the necessary measures so that they don't become places where transmission is facilitated. We don't want them to become places where COVID-19 is readily transmitted, to the extent that we can limit spread as much as possible. Talked a lot about what kinds of measures can be put into place to help support people to keep distance and to wear masks as much as possible. But fundamentally, it does come down to each and every one of us doing the best we can to actually maintain that distance, to limit our interactions, with others, to really reduce our activities to that which is most essential, so that we can get beyond this stage, this very, very difficult stage of the pandemic. And of course, I would have to mention get vaccine as well as soon as your turn comes up. These are the things that I think each of us can do to help support whatever measures come into place, and to get us to the other side of this pandemic.
Thank you. We'll go next to David Ryer from the Toronto Star. Dave?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking the call. The first question is for Dr. Davila, and I'm wondering, there has been some talk about the school openings for special ed students that are supposed to be happening, I believe, Wednesday for the Toronto District School Board. Can you tell me if there's been any change in plan that would change the ability to open just for the special ed students?
So Dave, at this point, I don't know of any change in plan. I'll have to connect with the team to see if there's anything further that I should be, made aware of. But as far as I know, all is continued, as planned.
Thank you. And the follow-up is following on Mark's question earlier, which is about specific measures that were announced, the ones that weren't walked back. Dr. Davila, you often talk about the balance between people's mental health, the ability to get out, do things that make them feel better in a terrible situation, versus trying to stop infection risk. I'm just wondering if you can speak specifically to people playing tennis across from each other, or golfing on a course, or going out to a basketball hoop and shooting a few and going home. Is the risk posed by those activities greater? Does it overwhelm the positive benefits for people who are able to do that?
So, Dave, I think it's always interesting to try to answer these questions. There's never just a simple answer. I will say this. I'm 100% supportive of trying to get people the opportunities to be outside. We know that outside is safer, for sure. So it is lower risk, but it's not no risk. So we know that as people get close to each other, this is how COVID-19 spreads. And with certain activities, outdoor recreational activities, we know that there's a greater chance as people interact closely with each other as part of the recreation or sporting activity, whatever it might be. So certainly there are some activities that are lower risk, those that allow for the maintenance of distance while conducting that recreation or activity are certainly lower risk than those that are require more up close interaction between people. So at the end of the day, we're encouraging people to be in outdoor space, to get some sunshine and fresh air and physical activity for sure, but recognize that lower risk doesn't mean no risk. So there's still the importance of maintaining distance to the greatest extent possible, and certainly using a mask, a well-fitting mask, particularly at those moments where you cannot maintain that distance.
Okay, final question is to Mark Douglas from 680 News. Mark, go ahead, please.
Thank you for taking the questions. Dr. Davila and Mayor Jory, if you could both comment on this one, please. If the vaccination rate continues as it is now, and we've just, you were celebrating the crossing of the threshold of 900,000 vaccines, how soon might Toronto cross that 1 million threshold of vaccinations into arms? And what would such a symbolic moment mean for the people of the city, and especially for the healthcare workers who are trying to keep all the people of the city safe?
So why don't I start off? So, Mark, when it comes to the vaccination rate, again, it's obviously dependent on supply, and we have been able to hit, as the Toronto vaccination partners, again, depending on supply, anywhere between 20 and 30,000 a day. And I'll remind you that we're not working at full capacity yet. Certainly at the city clinics, we are not, full throttle, simply because there isn't supply to allow for that to happen. So depending on what we see in the next couple of weeks, or in the next couple of days, I guess I should say, we should be able to hit that target soon. It's just a question now of, what kind of supply do we get? Because we do have lots more capacity. And certainly, I think each moment, each milestone should be celebrated. I think that's an important thing that we need to do. Certainly for our mental health and just our sense of community. I think it's important that we celebrate those accomplishments and achievements as part of the COVID-19 response. I think that's part and parcel of getting us through this very, very challenging period of time that we've been living through together.
I can't add much to except to say this. We have to start focusing on some of our positive achievements in this, because people do need a bit of hope. They are frustrated. They're down about this whole thing, and there are lots of reasons to be down. But our success so far with the supply issues we've had at actually getting done as many vaccines as we have put into arms is, I think, noteworthy. I like the Premier's target of 40% of the population of Ontario, including 40% of the population of Toronto, getting done by early May. And, if we get the supply, you just watch us go. We have put the capacity in place thanks to the efforts of Chief Peg and a great team of people. We've got these great partners in the hospitals and community organizations. And so if we can just get the supply, whether it's through reallocation or through better luck on the deliveries, just watch us go. And 1 million will be, in the past, because we'll have well surpassed that.
have gone through the 40% and got to where we need to get to it with this as the most powerful weapon to defeat this virus alongside keeping our distance. And so I'm very optimistic about how well we're doing, and if we can just get a bit more good fortune on the supply, through whether it's good fortune because it's good luck or because it's by design, that's going to help us to achieve that target and more.
As a follow-up then, and just to follow up a bit more on this idea of the 1 millionth vaccine in Toronto and the 40% population target for early May. You've got a few weeks left to achieve that one. Now, given the success of the pop-up clinics that you had mentioned earlier today, and again, Dr. DeVilla and Mayor Tory both, please. Do you imagine a way to roll out more of these successful pop-up clinics in the hard-to-reach and hard-to-vaccinate areas as a way to sort of get closer to those goals of 40% and 1 million vaccines?
By saying we are doing the maximum amount the supply available to us permits us to do. There is not one idle person that is not going to be fully utilized to make sure that every single dose we have available to us is utilized either in a pop-up or local setting, which we're now doing to an increasing extent, as we've indicated in the hotspots, or in the city-run clinics, which also accommodate people who are from the hotspots as well as a broader segment of the population. So as I said, if we get the supply issue addressed, watch us go. We have the capacity to do more. And I'm not saying that in any way to be provocative. I'm just saying it's a fact that we put the capacity in place thanks to the leadership of a great team led by Chief Pegg. We've got the capacity in place, and now we just have to get the supply issue resolved. And it'll be a combination, as it has been intended to be from the beginning. We said way back when, before the first shot was put in an arm, it would be doctors' offices, in no particular order, doctors' offices, pharmacies, the city-run vaccination clinics, and other pop-up and mobile clinics. It was always to be a team effort and an effort with a variety of channels. And we're now relying increasingly on local people to get that done, and with some success we've seen in the past couple of weeks. So we're ready to go on all fronts. We just need that supply issue to get resolved.
Yeah, and I think the only thing further I would add is that it's just a matter of good professional practice to adjust in accordance with what you actually see on the ground. As the mayor rightfully points out, the plan had always envisioned that there would be a number of different channels used to provide vaccine to different segments of the population. So we have seen that there has been lots of benefit associated with mobile and pop-up clinics, particularly in certain neighborhoods of the city. I can imagine that will work well in other neighborhoods as well, and we will continue to work with our partners to adjust our resources. And again, it is very much dependent on supply, but as supply becomes available, we will adjust our resources together as a consortium, if you will, of vaccination partners, so that we're delivering the most efficient and most effective vaccine program that we can, that is in concert with the supply that we have.
Can I just know one more thing, Brad and Mark? If you look at the list, and the reason I read it out today is because I think it is such a testament to the team approach to this, that you had people from the East Toronto Health Partners who've done such great work in the east part of the city, by definition. You had people from the Midwest Ontario Health Team. You had people from downtown hospitals, and you had people from local community organizations and Toronto Public Health, all working together. And I'm sure I've left somebody out in this fantastically successful local clinic in one of the hotspots in the northwest end of the city. And that's a real team effort, and I'm so proud of that. I think we all are, because that's always what was intended, and that supplements the efforts of the city-run clinics and what the hospitals were already doing in this regard. And that's why I say we're going to repeat that over and over and over again, and it just says it's all for one and one for all, and that's how it has to be, and that's how it will be.
Thank you, Mayor Tory, and thank you for joining us. That concludes today's update. Our next scheduled briefing will be this Wednesday, April the 21st. Stay well, everybody.
You've been listening to the latest update from the City of Toronto regarding the vaccine hotspot rollout. The Toronto COVID hotspots, mobile or pop-up clinics like the one on the weekend in Jane and Finch will be repeated over and over and over, according to Mayor John Tory. He says more than 3,000 people so far have been vaccinated.
Hiring can be challenging, but ZipRecruiter makes it fast and easy. We talked to Monica Starks, who needed to hire for a pivotal role in her company, GS Group.
As the owner of a construction company, finding the right people is a very difficult task. So I use ZipRecruiter.
ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology identifies the right people for your job and actively invites them to apply, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.ca/Canada. Monica did, and that's how she found Lamont, her new project superintendent.
The job is so perfect for me. I had a career breakthrough. I would have never found this job if it wasn't for ZipRecruiter.
With ZipRecruiter, we've hired everyone from accountants to project managers to field scientists. With ZipRecruiter, we get hiring results.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.ca/Canada. That's ZipRecruiter.ca/Canada. ZipRecruiter.ca/Canada.
Now the Dynamic Funds Market Minute, live from the Business Center, Richard Southern.
Well, we got the sellers out here in the Monday trade on the markets. The TSX of Toronto currently down 159 points, 19,192. And it's a triple-digit drop as well for the blue chips in New York. The Dow's down 166 points. The S&P right now down about 0.6%. The Nasdaq down 170. Of course, these indices hit record highs last week, so still very close to the best levels, but a broad-based decline right now. Gold is down almost $10 to $1,770 the ounce. Oil higher. It's up to $63.45 the barrel. Canadian dollar down to 79.72 cents U.S. At the Business Center, I'm Richard Southern.
Being active is better than being reactive. Dynamic Funds doesn't just take what the market gives. Ask a financial advisor about active management and learn more at dynamic.ca/advice.
Weather forecast you can bank on, because if we're off by more than 3 degrees,
you could win our growing cash jackpot. The 680 News Weather Guarantee. Enter online at 680news.com. Toronto's news now. This is 680 News.
Mostly cloudy, 15 degrees in downtown Toronto. Good afternoon. I'm Charlene Close.
And I'm James Monroe. Here's what's making news right now.
Toronto just giving its update on the vaccine hotspot rollout. The COVID hotspots, mobile or pop-up clinics like the one on the weekend in Jane and Finch will be repeated over and over and over, according to the mayor. More than 300,000 people have been vaccinated so far. Ontario's COVID case count is now 4,447. With just over 42,000 tests completed, our positivity rate now jumps to a record 10.5%. And starting tomorrow, people in this province 40 plus will be able to get the AstraZeneca vaccine at pharmacies or through their doctor.
Time now for 680 Sports.
From Sportsnet 59 and Fan, here's Alex Sixero.
Well, Caitlin, the Toronto Maple Leafs will practice this afternoon, hoping to have some good news on forward Zach Hyman. Hyman had to leave last night's game against the Vancouver Canucks after getting hit on the knee by Alex Edler, who was ejected, and Edler is facing discipline. He will chat with the NHL Department of Player Safety this afternoon. We do have a pair of games in the NHL North Division tonight. Calgary Flames host the Sens at 9. Habs and the Oilers go at the same time. Blue Jays hand the ball to Hyun-Jin Ryu when they fire up a 2-game series in Boston tomorrow. The Red Sox are in action this afternoon. They're holding a 10-4 lead over the White Sox in the 7th inning. The Toronto Raptors have signed forward Utah Watanabe to a standard NBA contract. Watanabe recorded a career-high 21 points last week against the Orlando Magic. And quarterback Alex Smith has retired after a 16-year career. Smith says he's given the game everything he had and will now enjoy more time with his family. Sports at 15 and 45 past every hour or anytime at sportsnet.ca/590.
Doug Ford says schools are safe, but it's not true. 1 in 4 Ontario schools have active COVID-19 cases. Ford didn't do what experts told him to do to keep kids safe. Now the virus is out of control and we're facing school closures again. Half measures don't work. It's time to make vaccines available to all educators and frontline workers. Schools won't be safe until transmission is under control. A message from the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario.
Hi, are you using a filter? Your skin looks amazing. Nope.
Just my Beauty Bio Glow Pro from TSC.
I want that glow.
Go to tsc.ca. They have amazing deals every day on our favorite brands.
Is it just fashion and beauty?
Home and electronics, too. I got the Total Gym, and it changed my life.
I'm going to tsc.ca right now.
Shop amazing daily deals with today's showstopper at tsc.ca. Today's shopping choice.
680 News Time, 2:49. Ontario's COVID-19 case count remains in the 4,000s today, and we've broken a record when it comes to the positivity rate. That says we're being warned the situation in our hospitals has become dire. 680's Irene Precklett joins us with more, including today's numbers. 4,447 new cases, not a record, but the 10.5 testing positivity rate today is. 2,202 people in the hospital, 755 of those in the ICU, 516 of those on ventilators, all records. Dr. Lawrence Lowe is Peel's top doctor. He says the case counts and hospitalizations in the region are the worst they've been since the pandemic started. He's urging everyone who is eligible to get whatever vaccine is offered to them first.
One of the things that we don't have the luxury of right now is time. And at our transmission rates the way they are, the longer you delay getting a vaccine, that is additional time that you are unprotected against this virus.
For those hesitant about the AstraZeneca vaccine, Dr. Lowe points out that vaccine is what helped the UK get out of the third wave. I'm Irene Precklett. Coming up in 60 seconds, traffic and weather together. 680 News Time, 2:50.
Rough driving conditions can chip your windshield in the blink of an eye. At Speedy Glass, we can quickly fix that chip before it turns into a crack. Hi, I'm Keith at Speedy Glass, and my team and I use unique cutting-edge technology to get you road-ready fast. Our work comes with a lifetime warranty, and it may even be free for you if you're insured. So don't ignore that chip. Book your appointment today at speedyglass.ca. Conditions apply. Details at speedyglass.ca.
Speedy Glass Repair. Speedy Glass Replace.
As headmaster of St. Andrews College in Aurora, I'm often asked by parents why our school is right for their son.
The second you enter, you know you're a part of something truly amazing. There are tons of arts and extracurricular activities.
71 teams, 21 sports. There are so many opportunities to become a leader. 100% of our students are accepted to university.
The teachers sincerely care. They push you to do your best.
And I have brothers for life.
Experience for yourself what a St. Andrews College Day or boarding program can offer your son. Join us for our virtual open house on April 20th.
Details at sac.on.ca.
680 News Time, 2:51.
Time for traffic and weather together on ones. Here's Carrie Brunskis.
This report is brought to you by Queensway Hyundai. Westbound on the 401 west of Yonge in the transfer to the collectors, the right lane is blocked, and this is due to a stalled vehicle. So it's a heavy drive here westbound on the 401, jammed from Leslie to west of Yonge in the express. Collector lanes are busy from about Bayview to Yonge, so you're better off in those collector lanes through this stretch. Just seeing a minor delay on the westbound 401 west of Guelph line. Eastbound on the 401, that's busy from Islington to the 400, mainly in the express lanes, but looks pretty good aside from that minor delay there. Northbound on the Don Valley Parkway, that's getting busy from Eglinton to north of Lawrence, and we have a backup on the northbound 427 from the 407 onto the Highway 7 ramp. Still have that closure of the 427 from Highway 7 to Zenway, long-term construction there. We also have some road work westbound on the 407, west of Dufferin. Crews are working in the right lane, so they've closed the ramp from southbound Dufferin onto the westbound 407. That ramp is a no-go until this construction wraps up. It's scheduled to reopen around 3 o'clock. So we'll see what happens in the next 10 minutes. If you're getting around on city streets this afternoon, haven't had any reports of any problems, so we're good to go there as well. Experience the Queensway Hyundai Advantage. 0% finance, 0.9% lease. Plus, don't pay for 90 days. Experience the advantages and book an appointment at queenswayhyundai.ca. Now with the extended forecast, hey, Carl Lamb, snow not out of the question.
No, not out of the question for sure. We have a little bit of light rain for areas north of the city right now, and we're going to get into some steadier rain tonight, starting after about dinner time. That's when we will have some organized lines of rain showers moving through. Temperatures dropping down to 3 degrees tonight. Tomorrow, 6 degrees cloudy, and we will have a windy day around the GTA, and then we have some snow
making its way in Tuesday night into the day on Wednesday. So we could pick up accumulation there of 1 to 3 centimeters. And then for Wednesday, 3 degrees will be the high. So real taste of winter returning. And again, another 1 to 3 centimeters there. Those higher totals at higher elevations. Right now it's 15 at Pearson, 14 at 680 News. Our guaranteed high today, 16.
Coming up at 3 o'clock, we'll have the very latest on Toronto's vaccine rollout. Plus, we'll also hear from Ontario's top doctors. The province's regular Monday COVID update comes up at around 3 o'clock. 680 News Time, 2:53.
Bernie HomeSafe is your trusted residential electrical contractor in the GTA. Is the electrical wiring in your home safe? Do you have old knob and tube aluminum or unsafe messy wiring? Electrical hazards are a leading cause of home fires. Bernie HomeSafe's highly trained electricians specialize in identifying and repairing electrical hazards in your home. Sign up for a Bernie HomeSafe electrical inspection today and make sure your home and family are safe. Book your no-charge assessment at ismyhomesafe.ca. COVID-19 protocols in place.
We work for you.
From talking to the newsmakers
To getting the answers to what you need to know about COVID-19.
and answers about your job and finances.
If you have a question, ask it at 680news.com/answers.
680 News gets the answers.
We're in this together.
680 News, working for you.
Coming up in 60 seconds, we'll check the markets. This is 680 News.
Hi, it's Fido. When it comes to streaming your favorite movies, don't let your data plan hold you back. Get a data boost from Fido with 5 hours of unlimited data at no extra cost. That's 5 extra hours of data every month when you need it. It's enough to stream a movie and a sequel. All you have to worry about is deciding what to watch on all voice and data plans, only with Fido. Visit a Fido store or fido.ca for details.
You've been at home for a while. Your office is at home. Your gym is at home. Your social life is at home. Virtually. Dining out is now dining in. It's time to invest in your health and sanity with a relaxing massage chair from Relaxa-Care, Canada's massage chair specialists. Choose from a huge selection of chairs, including L-track models, full body and luxury massage models, and enjoy deep relaxation at home 24/7. Now, being stuck at home doesn't need to be so stressful. Order today at relaxacare.ca. 680 News Time, 2:56. Now the 680 Business Report. Richard Southern.
Oh, hi, James. Good afternoon. Boy, many of us working from home now, and we rely on technology more than ever, and that's why a lot of people are irked today because Rogers experiencing an outage. Rogers wireless customers across Canada reporting a big outage affecting voice and data services, primarily stemming from issues here in Ontario, but also impacting Rogers customers in BC and Prince Edward Island. Rogers issuing an apology, tweeting out, quote, "We sincerely apologize to our customers." Going on to say, quote, "We know connectivity is critical and we are working hard to restore services." Users have been saying they've been unable to place or receive calls and text messages for a number of hours. Rogers pointing out that its wireline internet has not been impacted, but it is not clear exactly what led to these issues. The issue is not impacting Rogers stock. It's up 2.1% on the Toronto Exchange, $61.87. Rogers is the parent company of this radio station. Investors, though, are hanging up on the broader markets. It's a down Monday for equities. The TSX right now giving up 145 points to 19,206. Dow Industrials down 122 points to 34,078. S&P's down 22 points and the NASDAQ down 48. Investors, it seems, taking a bit of money off the table after a very strong record-breaking week last week. Peloton is down more than 9% after the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission issued a warning about Peloton's treadmill device that it sells, indicating that it could be dangerous with children or pets in the house. To the upside, GameStop gaining 5.5% up to $163.37 after the company indicated that its current CEO will step down by July 31st in ongoing efforts by GameStop to transform itself into more of an e-commerce company. Now, the Canadian dollar on the move lower right now. It's down 12/100 to 79.78 cents US. Hang tight because we got a lot coming up here at 3 o'clock, including a live update from Dr. Williams and the latest on the COVID situation in Toronto and the political fallout at Queen's Park that is quite dramatic today. The top stories are seconds away right here on 680 News.
I've got a craving for some McDonald's fries. Crispy, golden, hot. McDonald's fries. The official fries of the Toronto Raptors three-pointers.
Introducing Irwin's new Command Lock Tape Measures, built for extra control with a finger break, up to 14-foot reach, and a high-contrast DuPont Mylar film-coated white blade. Plus, it comes in a high-impact resistant case. When every quarter-inch matters, these tapes are designed with your job in mind. New Irwin Command Lock Tapes, built for the trades. Available only at Canadian Tire stores across Canada. Irwin, trade strong.
Now, 680 News regional weather conditions for Nav Badias Hyundai.
Voted Auto Trader's best three-row luxury SUV. The Genesis GT80 is here. Book your test drive at genesismississauga.ca. Tell them Superfan sent you.
Right now in Oakville, 16 degrees, partly cloudy. Milton, 17 degrees, partly cloudy. We're seeing some clouds up in Richmond Hill, 16 degrees. Brampton, 15 degrees and partly cloudy. In Orangeville, 13 degrees and partly cloudy. In downtown Toronto is 14 degrees, partly cloudy, 15 at Pearson. The News Watch never stops. 680 News is CFTR AM Toronto. Patrick Luciani is on the editor's desk, and Zahir Hashimi is our digital editor this afternoon. 680 News Time, 3 o'clock.
Toronto's #1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News.
Good afternoon. It is Monday, April 19th. I'm James Monroe.
And I'm Caitlin Lee. Here's what's making news this hour.
Happening now, the update on the way from provincial health officials. You can hear it here live.
It's another record-breaking COVID-19 day in Ontario. This with more people than ever before testing positive and hospitalizations climbing to new heights.
Toronto's top doctor knows it.
Good news is in short supply these days.
But pop-up clinics are a huge success and getting the city closer to vaccination number 1 million. The Maple Leafs are hoping Zach Hyman avoided serious injury last night, and the Blue Jays get the day off. Sports at 15.
Now, the market's a bit bruised here in the Monday trade. The TSX and Dow giving up more than 100 points each. Business at 26.
680 News Time, 3:01.
Traffic and weather together on the ones. Hey, Carrie.
Hey, this report is brought to you by Lexus of Oakville. On the 401 westbound, west of Yonge, in the transfer to the collectors, the right lane is blocked, and that's all due to a stalled vehicle. So we have delays on the westbound 401. It's pretty heavy from Leslie in the Express and from Bayview in the collectors to west of Yonge. So slightly better in those collector lanes. And again, that issue is in the transfer to the collectors. Past that, the westbound 401 opens up, and it's a smooth drive for the rest of the way. Eastbound on the 401, just seeing a minor delay from Islington to the 400. That's mainly in the express lanes. Looks good east of the 400. No problems into the Durham region. Northbound on the Don Valley Parkway, that's filling in with volume approaching Eglinton to north of Lawrence. And we have a typical backup northbound 427 from the 407 onto the Highway 7 ramp as you head into the long-term construction area. Westbound 407, great news. The southbound Dufferin ramp to the westbound 407 has reopened, so that construction is all wrapped up. MTO is still reporting construction, though, on the southbound 400 at Bayfield. Crews have the left lane closed there. For a limited time, Lisa 2021 IS300 all-wheel drive F-Sport Series 1 at 2.9% for 39 months with bi-weekly payments from $228. See lexusofOakville.ca. And now with the forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
It is mild out there right now, but temperatures will be tumbling tonight down to 3 degrees during the overnight. We have a little bit of light rain across the GTA right now, but rain showers will become more numerous this evening after about 7 o'clock tonight. And those winds, they'll start to ease off after midnight. So down to 3 degrees tonight, and then tomorrow just 6 degrees. And we're going to be talking about that snow that's making its way in tomorrow evening. Right now, it is 15 at Pearson, 14 at 680 News, and our guaranteed high today, 16.
After now, the update from provincial health officials just getting underway. Let's go there live.
What has happened? and sort of look at what we're trying to see down the road for the week coming up. The last update, you had both updates from Dr. Heyer and Dr. Yaffe on Thursday, and then myself with Dr. Staney on Friday. So we'll give some updates there. So first, I'm going to hand the information that and updates over to Dr. Yaffe.
Thanks very much, and good afternoon, everyone. So, since the last update that Dr. Williams provided on Friday, Ontario has reported an additional 13,059 cases of COVID-19. If we break it down, on Saturday, there were 4,362 cases. On Sunday, 4,250. And today, 4,447. That brings our 7-day average of daily cases to 4,348. This is a 15% increase over last week's 7-day average, and a 58% increase over the average from 2 weeks ago. Ontario has reported over 4,000 daily new cases for 6 of the last 7 days. And sadly, we are reporting an additional 71 deaths since Friday's update. We extend our deepest sympathies to the families, friends, and caregivers of those who have passed away from COVID-19, and to all those mourning the death of a loved one in these very difficult times. Hospitalizations and intensive care unit occupancy are once again at their highest level since the beginning of the pandemic. Today, there are 2,202 people in hospital and 755 in ICU with COVID-19. In terms of testing, 42,873 tests were processed yesterday, with a positivity rate of 10.5%. That is the highest positivity rate we've seen since the pandemic began. Our current 7-day average for percent positivity is 8.8%. We now have a total of 36,894 cases that have variants of concern confirmed. The majority, 99% of these, are the B117 variant, which was first identified in the United Kingdom. Our 7-day rolling average positivity for these variants of concern is 71.4% of our cases. And that is slightly up from 70.9% just 1 week ago. The words I said last week, that our situation is dire, they remain true today. The trends in key health indicators have deteriorated to levels far exceeding anything we have seen before. As noted last week, even with the stay-at-home order and the stronger public health measures in place, it will take some time before we see the effect of these interventions. But we do know that these measures work. We know that by reducing mobility, by staying home as much as possible, and by limiting social interactions to those within your household, our rates of transmission will begin to go down. I know that while these actions sound simple, simple isn't always easy to do. We've been at this for over a year, and it sometimes feels like there's no end in sight. But I know that we can all do this. We need everyone to do their part to allow more time for our vaccine plan to roll out. And when it is your turn to get vaccinated, please do so. It is critically important and key to controlling this pandemic in the long term. I'm going to now turn it back over to Dr. Williams for additional comments.
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Yaffe, and I think those points about where we're at and the dire situation here with our numbers and our ICUs climbing, and different patients coming in more critical and more serious right from the get-go is concerning as we try to put in all the measures that Dr. Yaffe's alluded to try and curtail or bend the curve, if you may, and to see if we can bring it under control in there. And I think part of that aspect there is that decreasing the mobility is a very critical one. And the idea behind strong measures is that the key part of that is strong adherence by the public to all those different components that Dr. Yaffe alluded to there. And by doing that, we can minimize and reduce and eliminate our exposure to those, to ones and others around with us, even the variants of concern. If we do that continuously, very carefully, and not lapse into periods of letting it go or becoming casual in that. The other aspect we're trying to really work on is the vaccination, and we've done more than 3.9 million doses of the COVID vaccine through Ontarians thus far. We hope to pass 4 million mark today, and that's a good milestone to get through as we head up from our mid 20% up to 30% of our population to be vaccinated. This is indeed a success, but we have more to go, a lot more to go, and we continue to work on that. So while we're working on getting the vaccine out, we need to do all else we can to keep the growth of the cases. That means those cases down. That means the percent of those get hospitalized and a percent of those into the ICU. It all has to be brought under control while we wait for the vaccines to impact more and more. And we've seen that effect, of course, in our long-term care homes and our retirement homes, and now we're seeing it in our age population groups that we brought down. But now we're trying to work that out, how to go into our high-risk areas and zones to do even more targeted vaccination in there. We have a number of initiatives taking place, including vaccination at workplaces and other areas around where we understand there is high community transmission. And we undertake that. Last week, we heard the available data from Europe and from the United Kingdom, and Health Canada had announced that it no longer is restricting the use of AstraZeneca at any specific population at this time, so from 18 up at this time. So we've reviewed that situation here in Ontario, and in concert with some of our other Chief Medical Officer Health across Canada, while we wait for some final announcements from the National Advisory Committee on Immunization, which we hope to have some more further updates from them later this week, that we have ascertained, as a number of us had done, to move the age for the AstraZeneca vaccine after all review and carrying out the risk assessment down to age 40 and over, both at our pharmacy and our primary care settings across the province. And this is an important step to make it even more available, because we're having more and more individuals in that 40 to 60 age group becoming quite ill and starting to fill up our intensive care units. And so we would really like to move at that, especially in high-risk population areas, that we would need to undertake that vaccination program. So with the supply of AstraZeneca available this time, the expansion of eligibility will also significantly give us better coverage in those hotspots and those communities there where our pharmacies are located and our primary care physicians have a very much working relationship with their communities in those jurisdictions. So I understand this change in this policy has been in the narrative realm that has eroded the public's trust and have made people somewhat hesitant. I think the thing I want to take away from that is that we want to be very careful always with these public vaccination programs. We want to look at any possibility of direction, even though this is a very rare event of this clotting disorder that here in Ontario we have a leading center at the university and held at McMaster, and we are blessed by having that at our access, as well as the information diagnostic and understanding that it is a rare event. So therefore, we want to make sure that we understand that and that you understand that, and you put that into perspective of the risk of COVID and the complications of COVID and other aspects, because everything has some risk to it, and not doing it is even higher risk for areas very high risk of complications of COVID. So we want to make sure we have that information for you as the consumer so that you're fully informed and not dealing with what you consider maybe possibilities or rumors, because you need to have the data, and we wanted to make sure that was available for you at this time. So with that, we have We will be coming out with more information material on that, so you have that available to you. And as a number have said, as a vaccine, it's very effective in that sense, safe, but we want to make sure that there is a slight risk, a very, very, very risk, but we're aware of it. Our medical community now is aware of what that is, and they can assess that very quickly and render investigations and treatment if in the rare case it does occur in that. So we're asking people, when your turn comes up or when you have an opportunity, do register, do go to your pharmacy, contact your primary care physician if they are giving vaccinations, and ensure that when your time comes to go forward and get vaccinated. Because by doing that, we hope to keep moving ourselves forward to get up over that 40% of our adult population vaccinated, if we can, as soon as possible in that aspect there. So we're looking at those measures that Dr. Yaffe alluded to: decreased mobility, more care around who you associate with, very limited to your family. All the measures we talked about before that have to be done and done well again, especially with these variants of concern that have very easy transmission with very short contact, and even with some people who deem themselves to be asymptomatic or not of exposure, you cannot be sure, unless it's in your household where you know the history of their exposure, that it's been as standard and stabilized as yours. So we ask that you would continue to do those things very much in these days ahead, so we can keep the load on our healthcare system down, you keep healthy, your family keeps healthy, and as you wait for your vaccination and to add that to your protection. So those are comments today, and with that, we'll open up for questions from the media.
We'll go to the phone lines. Just a reminder, one question, one follow-up. Over to the first question, please.
From Jack Howard in Queensburg Briefing. Hi there, Dr. Williams. I was just wondering if Nancy tomorrow says that the AstraZeneca vaccine is safe or safe enough to outweigh the risks for everyone over 18. Is that something Ontario should move to expand the age eligibility right away?
I would certainly welcome that. What we were trying to look at is with the data from the UK, and we're trying to understand that area, that 18 to 40, to get the metrics on that about how the risk benefit in that age group, because we haven't got a lot of cases here in Ontario in the 18 to 30 age group. We have some, especially with the use of AstraZeneca. We don't have any, so we have to look at those other jurisdictions. So I would like to get it down to 18. As soon as possible, but we'll have to wait to see what the full data analysis on that is. Even though Health Canada has cleared it down to 18, it's that risk of these different age groups as compared to getting COVID. And I said we don't have a large number, fortunately, of people 18 to say 20, 25 that have COVID and have had consequences of that in that age group. So we're waiting for some further information on the wider lit research that some groups like NACI and others are doing to give us that information. So we would welcome that.
All
right. Thanks. And on a different topic, I was wondering about primary care physicians and vaccinating their patients. If a family doctor thinks that their patient should be a higher priority for the vaccine, are they able to essentially bump them up the wait list?
I think I got the gist. You're saying if they're seeing a primary care doctor and their primary care doctor feels they should be bumped up, as in they say they have a condition that should be get in an older age group. You mean on the booking system, or do you mean in relation to AstraZeneca vaccine?
Sorry, with regards to the AstraZeneca vaccine?
Oh, well, the doctor who has seen them, say the person is concerned about maybe they've had some problem with blood clots or they're on various medications, and that I would advise them to discuss it with their family doctor, and that family doctor may say in the their recommendation may say, okay, I think AstraZeneca is fine. They may say maybe using one of the others, maybe you should wait for it when your age group comes up. So we still will go with the primary care doctor's assessment, and that adds to that individual's risk assessment. If there is anything that's even with a preponderance of caution, they may say because of the risk exposure and that, be very careful and let's wait for something different. We will accept the primary care doctor's recommendation in that regard.
Next question.
From Robert Curtis of the Toronto Star. Hi, Doctor. I'm wondering from a public health standpoint, do you think we need to be closing more non-essential workplaces and businesses? And feel free to answer yes or no.
I think there's always ones we're looking at, how we might do that and what the definition of essential is. And we're continually trying to understand how that impacts. And then, of course, what is necessary in there. So I can't give you a yes or no. I think we're always working that through with our various other sectors to understand how that works and what some people may not think is essential. Someone else says that is so essential, and the people want that service available to them. So it's not a clear-cut answer in some people's minds.
Follow-up?
Okay, thanks, Doctor. And what is the, I'm wondering, what are the current rates of hospitalization and ICU admission? When I look at the daily epidemiologic summary, I see about, so far in the pandemic, about 1% of people, I think if I recall correctly, seem to be requiring ICU, and about 5% seem to be requiring hospital. But what are those rates now that we're in this acute stage of the third wave?
Well, that's a good question, and I'm asking those questions over to our critical care teams to look at the metrics of that. In the first wave, it was about 6% and 3%. So about 6% of the cases got hospitalized, and 3% of those ended up in the ICU. With the COVID that we had in the first and second wave. In the second wave, it changed a little bit. It dropped down from 6 to 5.5%, and the 3 moved down a little bit to about 2.5%. But with the data that we heard from some of the research done thus far, the evidence is that the rate of hospitalization was about 1.4, 1.5 that of the regular COVID. So that means it's higher percent. And the ICU admission rate was twice that in there. So it seems that the variants of concern have a higher hospitalization rate and a higher ICU rate. Now, we're continuing to be looking at that data as it progresses, and we have large numbers. So I'm asking our Ontario health experts and our analytic people to see what kind of granularity of that data. How is it changing and shifting with the variants of concern? And most of our variants at this time are the B1.1.7. That's the UK variant. We have a few of the others. So we're trying to understand as well and learn from our counterparts on the other part of the Canada and BC and Alberta as they deal with that variant and what are they finding to advise us in that. So we're all sharing what we're learning in each of our respective jurisdictions.
Next question, and this will be the last question unless someone else joins the queue.
From Alex Chasson with CBC News.
Hi there, thanks for taking my question. It's actually similar to one of the ones that was just recently asked by the lab's reporters about essential workplaces, and I'm not sure I got a clear answer. I understand that you're saying there's not exactly a clear decision on that, but could you perhaps give us your medical opinion on whether the province should revisit what is deemed essential when it comes to workplaces? Are you saying that it's being looked at?
I think one of the aspects we've been really trying to work at is that these workplaces are undertaken and looked at with safety in mind. So what things, as compared to the first wave, that we put in place with our Ministry of Labour inspectors, looking at different things that need to be in place about distancing, masking, sometimes with partitions in between workers and that, in order to maintain these essential, whether they're food processing plants that people are required to get the food on the table, or there's some other things that need to be put together. Every time we have some area, someone else identifies, well, that's essential and critical, why can't we get that? So it's a combination of what can we do to first to protect the workers in there, and what can we do as far as further inspections and do vaccination programs. So we're really trying to work at that now to say, can we go in, especially some of these larger centers that are doing essential work, and have them vaccinated, including maybe some of their family members as well, to try and protect that. But at the same time, we're asking those questions, are there some that we could close that wouldn't put people into a very sort of a dire strait that they have to go elsewhere to try and get what they consider essential products or materials. And so we trust our other people in those sectors to give us advice and discussions between our public health measures table and them, and there's those discussions are ongoing. And it just seems to, it's a continuing as we learn more and understand more. So we're looking at them. and we'll be advised by many people of what we might do, because we really want to protect those workers as best we can in those circumstances.
Follow up, and this is the last question.
Okay, so then, for example, like the best case scenario modeling that is presented to us is based on making the essential list as small as possible. Do you think that it is, or you're saying that it's in flux?
I would agree that we should try and make it as small as possible. Again, not compromising that people who need some essential materials are not missed out on. You can always close things for a short period, and some of those, if there's an outbreak, will be and have been closed for the period of time if there was an outbreak at some of those centers in there. So I think we would like if they're non-essential, then they should be closed. If they are essential by definition, then we'd have to look at the cost of closing those, and would that cause any harm to people who couldn't get something that was vitally necessary, say after a period of a week or so. So by definition, essential is essential, but we really look at the difference between when should be non-essential, and then in that case, then if you take one from essential to non-essential, you determine that those materials they supply out to the public are no longer necessary for that period of time, and that's something you'd like to be comprehensively informed on before you did that.
Thanks, everyone.
Happening now, you've been listening to the update from provincial health officials. And of course, in the latest daily COVID data, we're seeing records in almost all categories across the province. The Premier now says his government has been told to be prepared for delays to 2 shipments of AstraZeneca expected from the federal government later this month and also next month, and says such delays would be devastating. Full coverage straight ahead.
What does Andrea's CRV have in common with Pat's Civic? The answer, both were assembled right here in Ontario. And during the Honda Checkered Flag event, lease your own Ontario-built 2021 Civic LX from $62 weekly at 0.99% and 0 down, including a $750 Honda bonus. Ontario is something we can all be proud to be a part of and support. Includes freight and fees for 60 months, taxes extra OAC, made with domestic and imported parts, by appointment only. See HondaOntario.com.
Coming up in 60 seconds, the Monday Markets with Richie, 680 News Time, 325.
Since the dawn of time, humans have been pursuing food. First in open plains and lush forests, and later in the crowded aisles of grocery stores. Today, that pursuit is over. With good food, you can get delicious, ready-to-cook meals like caramelized onion baked cheese tortellini delivered right to your home. Because some things are better left in the past. Good food, eating evolved. Visit makegoodfood.ca.
680 News Time, 326.
Now, 680 Business Report. Hey, Richie.
James, good afternoon. Canadian Tire and Loblaws are both paying out millions in bonuses to their top executives. After COVID-19, sales came in hot. I mean, both Loblaws and Canadian Tire have, they've done pretty well sales-wise over the past year. Both chains have been allowed to remain open here in Ontario and have benefited from a big uptick in demand for their products. However, profits at both did miss expectations because expenses did move higher. But nonetheless, the Globe and Mail reports that Canadian Tire CEO Greg Hicks paid a total of $4.49 million, including a $949,000 bonus. Loblaws CEO Galen G. Weston pulling in $3.55 million, including a bonus of $648,000. All of this, of course, comes amid criticism from some that employees at Loblaws and Air Canada didn't get a big enough bonus for the work that they've done, or a bonus that was in place long enough. Loblaws had in place a pandemic pay last spring, but withdrew it after a couple of months. Here's the Canadian Tire, are up 34 cents right now, $194.73. Loblaws, little change, $69.86. TSX is down. It's a money-losing Monday for the main stock benchmarks here. TSX is down 167 points right now at 19,184. And the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 160 points. The S&P 500 down 0.6%, and the NASDAQ down 165 points as traders book some profits after what's been quite a nice run for the broader markets. Some individual stocks seeing some interesting moves here. We have Coca-Cola moving higher after it beat estimates for its first quarter earnings. Harley-Davidson shares in the motorcycle maker, they are upward of 13% after the company beat bottom line expectations. We have a lot of companies opening up their books for their second quarter results. Qualcomm in the chip group seeing its stock move lower, down just over 2% after it was downgraded by the street today. To the upside, it's GameStop, the retailer, video game retailer, up 5 3/4%, $163 on news that its CEO will be leaving in the next month or two amid a transformation that's underway there at GameStop. The Canadian dollar moving a little bit lower right now. The loonie down almost 1/4 cent to 79.69 cents US. So much news on the go. The latest from Dr. Williams, which you just heard live. The latest on the COVID numbers and major political fallout at Queen's Park. The Ford government in crisis this afternoon. All those top stories are seconds away on 680 News.
COVID has impacted frontline teachers, education workers, and students. For our economy to bounce back, we need a healthy education system. Education is Ontario's competitive edge. But Doug Ford's plans threaten our recovery by shortchanging education, and that affects us all. Please visit betterstronger.ca and let Doug Ford know that now is not the time to shortchange education. A message from the 60,000 teachers and education workers of the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation.
If you need a vehicle, we're here to help. The Performance Auto Group Pre-Owned Demo event is April 21st to 30th. Select from hundreds of company demonstrator vehicles across 22 brands. Pay no freight fees, pay no PDI fees. Save up to $25,000 in discounts and enjoy rates from 0% on select models. The Performance Auto Group Pre-Owned Demo event, April 21st to 30th. By appointment only and online. Performance.ca/demo for details.
Checking tonight's forecast, cloudy with rain, 12 degrees, overnight clouds, down to 3, tomorrow morning cloudy and 4, and tomorrow afternoon clouds and 6 degrees. 680 News Time, 3:30.
Toronto's #1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News.
Good afternoon. It's Monday, April 19th. I'm Caitlin Lee.
And I'm James Monroe. Here's what's making news right now.
For the 6th day in a row, Ontario sees new COVID-19 cases over 4,000 with a record number of hospitalizations. This, as we're warned, we haven't seen the worst of wave 3 yet.
Toronto's mayor and top doctor pressing on to reach the city's 1 millionth vaccination.
You know, if we get the supply, you just watch us go.
And the pop-up clinics are a success.
People 35 years of age and up will be eligible for a COVID vaccine tomorrow if you live in one of 5 York Region hotspots, while the province says it's expecting delays in AstraZeneca shipments.
Rogers mobile customers coast to coast are reporting service disruptions. The communications company says it's working to resolve the problem.
The Leafs will be holding practice in Vancouver this afternoon, and Patrick Marleau is about to make NHL history. Sports at 45.
TSX Dow both moving lower in the Monday trade. Business at 56.
680 News Time, 3:31.
Time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Carrie Preskis. We have a couple of stalled vehicles on the westbound 401. The first one is west of Yonge in the transfer to the collectors. The right lane closed there. So a heavy backup westbound 401 from west of Leslie in the Express and from Bayview in the collectors to west of Yonge. Another stalled vehicle westbound 401 approaching the 400 in the collectors. That's blocking the right lane. Just a minor delay here as you approach the 400 in the collectors. Then we have delays westbound 401 from west of the 427 in the collectors onto the Dixie ramp. Really jammed through this stretch. There's a crash northbound on Dixie, north of the 401. So a heavy backup northbound Dixie from Matheson to north of the 401. Northbound on the Don Valley Parkway, that's busy from north of Bayview Bloor to north of Lawrence. A slight delay on the northbound 404 as you're approaching Aurora Road. We likely have a problem southbound on the 404 south of Aurora Road because traffic is getting really jammed up on the southbound side of the 404 in this area as well. Eastbound on the 401, that's busy from east of the 427 to the 400 in the Express, and then another delay as you head past Salem. Your next traffic report is at 3:41. Now with the forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
And we have some light rain shower activity across the GTA. There will be more numerous rain showers making their way across the region later this afternoon and into the evening. Temperatures will drop to about 13 this evening and then tumble all the way down to 3 as a cold front makes its way through. And that is going to set up for a really interesting day tomorrow. 6 is the high, cloudy with some snow showers north during the day, but then we will start to see snow showers impact everyone tomorrow evening. Right now it's 15 at Pearson, 14 downtown. Our guaranteed high today, 16.
This is 680 News.
The current situation is critical. Those words from health officials as we see record COVID-19 data across the board in Ontario.
680's Irene Precklett begins our coverage and joins us with the numbers.
For the 6th day in a row, Ontario sees COVID-19 cases over 4,000. Today, 4,447. The 10.5% testing positivity rate, a record. Hospitalizations at a record 2,202. A record number of people in the ICU and on ventilators. Dr. Lawrence Lowe is Peel's top doctor. He calls the situation dire and says we are not going to be able to vaccinate our way out of this at this point.
In Peel right now, the transmission picture is the worst that we've seen since the pandemic arrived on our shores. We've never seen case counts this high before. We've never seen our hospital capacity exceeded to the levels that we're seeing.
Dr. Lowe encouraging people to get the first vaccine offered to them. I'm Irene Precklett. 680 News Time, 3:34 at Queen's Park. The Ford government back on its heels. Here's 680's Richard Southern.
After a politically disastrous weekend, Premier Ford didn't show up to the legislature. It was up to his government House Leader, Paul Calandra, to make this stunning admission.
And we've been perfect? Absolutely not. We will not, and we will continue to make mistakes.
Calandra called the stunning backtrack on police carding and the closure of playgrounds a communications problem.
Perhaps it wasn't communicated properly. You can argue that it wasn't the right decision.
Liberal MPP John Fraser.
Ontarians said, well, not every kid's got a backyard to play in. It's not a communications problem. Last Friday, the Premier jumped the shark.
Meantime, Health Minister Christine Elliott was asked who recommended to the government that playgrounds close. Was it Dr. Williams? No, she said it wasn't.
No, Dr. Williams recommended to us that we reduce mobility as much as possible and that we make sure that people follow the public health advice that he's been giving to us.
Richard Southern.
With breaking news from York Region, the age limit in several hotspots has now been lowered again. It comes as those 40 and over can book an appointment for an AstraZeneca at a local pharmacy. 680's Moma Qureshi joins us live. Moment.
That's right, James. A few things changing on the vaccine front this afternoon. We'll start in York Region, where the public health agency there has said that anybody 35 years of age and older who lives in one of the 5 designated hotspots that they have is now eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine or COVID-19 vaccine. You can begin registering if you fall into that category tomorrow morning at 8:30. Now, as we know, as of tomorrow, people 40 years of age and older can begin getting the AstraZeneca vaccine province-wide. You can actually book your appointments today. I fall into that category. I did it this morning. There's several different ways you can do it. You can go onto the online portal for the province, put in your postal code. It will tell you which pharmacies in your neighborhood are offering the vaccine. You can try to go through one of the bigger chains or call one of your local pharmacies. And as of this afternoon, we also got word from the province that while they're opening up the availability for people who have AstraZeneca, the Premier's office saying that they've been notified that they are expected to be a delay in shipments of AstraZeneca for this month and next month. So it seems that every time we take a step forward in the vaccine rollout, there's some sort of issue that comes up. So we'll see how much of an impact that delay actually has. Reporting live, I'm Moma Qureshi.
680 News Time, 3:36. A vaccination mix-up at the Mackenzie Health Vaccine Clinic in Vaughan. The hospital network says on Sunday, March 28th, 6 people got an injection of saline instead of the COVID-19 vaccine at the Cordalucci Vaughan Hospital. Saline is used to dilute the vaccine before it's administered. Mackenzie Health says receiving a saline injection does not cause harm. However, it should not have happened. In a statement, the hospital says the internal quality assurance system allowed the issue to be identified in a timely manner. The affected people have been notified and re-injected with vaccine. It also says a full review is underway and additional safeguards have been implemented.
This is 680 News. Toronto close to reaching the 1 million mark when it comes to the number of needles going into arms. The mayor praising the pop-up clinic approach. 680's Mark Douglas joins us live. Mark.
James, Dr. Eileen Davila is admitting today good news is in short supply.
It's obvious now. We are well into the worst part of the pandemic so far.
So Mayor John Tory says it's time to start focusing on the positives because people need a bit of hope, he says. For one thing, the city of Toronto could be only days away from giving out its 1 millionth vaccination.
You know, if we get the supply, you just watch us go.
And Dr. Davila and the mayor celebrating what he calls the hundreds of mobile pop-up vaccination clinics that have been put on so far in Toronto in partnership with a long list of community health agencies. Tory says a particular event on Saturday was their biggest team effort yet.
A pop-up clinic on the basketball courts at 15 Tobermory Drive and vaccinated 3,140 residents in the M3N postal code.
And Tory says he still supports the provincial goal of vaccinating at least 40% of the population, and by extension, 40% of Toronto, by early May. Reporting live, I'm Mark Douglas.
Happening now, Rogers customers across Canada continue to see interruptions in cell service, unable to make calls or texts due to the outage. The city's Phil Martino has the latest. If you haven't been able to call your mom today, you're not alone. Rogers mobile customers from coast to coast have taken to social media to report issues like being unable to make a call or send a text, or in some cases, they're reporting complete service failure. Rogers Communications Partnership has released a statement that reads, "We know how important it is to stay connected and are working hard to restore services for customers who are experiencing interruptions with wireless voice and data. But what if you need to call 911? Well, Toronto Police Communications says if you get through to 911, give the emergency location and do not hang up until directed by the call taker at Toronto Police. In addition, they won't be able to get your callback number, so if you disconnect, they'll be unable to call you back, so please remain on the line." I'm Phil Martino. This is 680 News.
Listen 3, 4, 5 times a day on your radio, on our mobile app, and on your smart speaker.
Play 680 News.
Introducing to DeWalt's 20-volt max system, the new professional range of outdoor power tools. Power through tall, thick glass with the 2x20-volt max brushless push mower, featuring two 20-volt max 10-amp-hour batteries, covering up to 75 minutes of runtime on a single charge. The high-performance DeWalt universal attachment 60-volt max DeWalt string trimmer and edger kit converts to a brush cutter, pole saw, and more. Attachments sold separately. Available at the Home Depot and independent retailers.
Now the 680 News gas price update. AdPro predicts the price will not change at midnight, staying at $1.30.9 a liter.
Hey, it's Needs Calls from Willowdale Nissan. Great news, we are open. All safety protocols are in place as we regularly fog and wipe down all touch points for your safety. We will all get through this together, and to help, we are offering our best deals of the year with the Nissan My Choice sales event. Get incredible offers in the entire lineup of Nissan vehicles. The My Choice sales event at Willowdale Nissan, the #1 Nissan dealership in Ontario and your Nissan GTA headquarters. Visit willowdalenissan.com.
SH Health is a private medical clinic offering testing for COVID-19. If you need clearance for essential travel or are concerned or responsible for workplace safety, SH Health offers same-day PCR and rapid COVID testing. And the best part, you're in and out in just a few minutes. Go to shhealth.ca to book an appointment today at one of our 5 GTA clinics. SH Health, protecting communities, companies, and families.
680 News Time, 3:41.
Time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Let's check in with Carrie Preskis. This report is brought to you by Bosch. We got an update from the MTO about this problem on the southbound 404 south of Aurora Road. 3 right lanes are blocked, and it's all due to a stalled vehicle. So many lane restrictions for that one problem. It is jammed on the southbound 404 from Aurora Road to south of it. And then past that, a bit busy on the southbound 404 Shepherd and the collectors onto the 401 ramps. Westbound on the 401, that problem west of Yonge and the transfer to the collectors have cleared. We have delays though westbound 401 from Leslie in the Express and from Bayview in the collectors to west of Yonge. That backup is pretty quickly easing though. But then another stalled vehicle westbound 401 approaching the 400 in the collectors. The right lane is closed, so it gets jammed up from just west of Keele in the collectors. And delays again westbound 401 from west of the 427 in the collectors onto the Dixie ramp. That is due to a collision northbound on Dixie north of the 401.
So a heavy backup northbound Dixie from Matheson. If you're traveling the northbound Don Valley Parkway, it's slow going from Bloor to north of Lawrence and a bit busy on the northbound 404 approaching Aurora Road because of that southbound problem. Eastbound on the 401 backed up from east of the 427 to the 400 in the express and getting busy through Salem. Heading out of downtown on the westbound Gardner, it's already jammed from Jarvis to west of Strawn. Not too bad of a drive though on the westbound QEW, a bit busy approaching Appleby to Walker's line. Northbound 427, that's jammed into the long-term construction as you approach the 407 onto the Highway 7 ramp. Love the German engineering of Bosch appliances. Get instant rebates of up to $2,300 on quality Bosch appliances. See Appliance Canada for details. And now with the forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
Well, temperatures are actually going to be dropping quite a bit, actually. Tonight, temperatures will be around 12 to 13 degrees this evening, but then down to 3 during the overnight. And then we do have some rain showers moving in as well. We have some light rain right now, but steadier rain moves in as we approach the dinner hour. And then once we get into the overnight, the rain does clear out. Tomorrow's high 6 degrees and a low of -2. We watch for some flurries for areas north of the city tomorrow morning. And by tomorrow evening, that's when the snow will arrive 1 to 3 centimeters through the overnight, and then it will be windy as well. We'll have a wind chill tomorrow evening of -8. Right now, it is 17 at Pearson, 15 at 680 News. Our guaranteed high today is 16.
680 News Time, 3:43. Now time for the Dynamic Funds Market Minute. Let's head over to the Business Center with Richard Sutter. Richard.
Caitlin, good afternoon. TSX moving lower along with the other stock benchmarks. Bay Street's down 158 points right now, 0.8%. The Dow drops 129 points. The S&P's down just over 0.5%. And the NASDAQ down 152 points. Canadian dollar drops 79.76 cents US. This is 680 News.
Being active is better than being reactive. Dynamic Funds doesn't just take what the market gives. Ask a financial advisor about active management and learn more at dynamic.ca/advice.
McDonald's Egg McMuffin is made with a freshly cooked egg. But wait, there's also a bacon and egg McMuffin and a sausage and egg McMuffin. Right now, they're just $3 each. Good luck deciding. Plus tax for limited time at participating restaurants. Excludes delivery.
All right, guys, it's been a blast, but I gotta head out. Hey, Julie, do you need a ride?
Thanks, John, but there's a reason I'm not driving, and I don't think you should be either.
Yeah, if she wanted to ride with someone who'd been drinking, she'd drive herself.
John, my sister's coming to get me. I'll drop you off. When a drinking driver crashes, passengers in the vehicle share the same fate. In a 2010 poll, more than 85% of Canadians said they don't ride with a drinking driver. Speak your mind. ChangeTheConversation.ca.
Toronto's news now. This is 680 News.
It is 17 degrees, partly cloudy in downtown Toronto. Good afternoon. I'm Caitlin Laird.
And I'm James Monroe. Here's the breaking news right now.
COVID-19 numbers up across the board. 4,447 new cases of COVID-19 reported today in the province. 19 more deaths linked to the virus. A record positivity rate of 10.5%. It comes as those 35 plus in several hotspots in York region can now get a vaccine. And 40 and up are now able to book appointments for AstraZeneca. But it comes as the Premier says there's an expected delay of the AstraZeneca shot. And Toronto about to cross the 1 million mark for the number of vaccines administered.
Time now for 680 Sports.
From Sportsnet 590 The Fan, here is Alex Sixero.
Hey, James, Vancouver Canucks defenseman Alex Edler will have a hearing with the Department of Player Safety for last night's knee-on-knee collision with Toronto's Zach Hyman. Leafs are expected to update Hyman's status after practice today. The rematch in Vancouver goes tomorrow. Baseball this afternoon on Patriots Day. The Boston Red Sox beat the White Sox 11-4 the final. Red Sox with 3 home runs. JD Martinez 3 for 5 with 2 RBI. Jays will be at Fenway Park tomorrow for the beginning of a 2-game series. Jays are 7-9 on the season. Utah Watanabe is on a 2-way deal no longer after signing a standard NBA contract with the Raptors this morning. Blake Murphy reporting the deal covers this year and next. Raptors host Brooklyn on Wednesday. And after 17 months on the job, Jose Mourinho has been fired as manager of Tottenham. momentum. Spurs have first place back in December, but have since fallen to 7th in the EPL. We do have one game on the go right now. Sadio Mane has given Liverpool a 1-0 lead over Leeds United. Sports at 15 and 45 past every hour, or anytime at sportsnet.ca/590.
Get hooked on Bolt Plus. Bolt Plus is your fastener specialist, plus so much more. Check out their massive showroom filled with an extensive inventory of industrial and safety supplies, such as abrasives, adhesives, and lubricants, anchors, storage bins, paints and coatings, cutting tools, chain hooks, and wire rope, plus a huge stock of DeWalt and Milwaukee power tools. Let their knowledgeable staff source your hard-to-find items. Bolt Plus, proudly Canadian-owned and operated, many locations to serve you. Shop online, boltplus.ca.
Hi, it's Fido. When it comes to streaming your favorite music, don't let your data plan hold you back. Get a data boost from Fido with 5 hours of unlimited data at no extra cost. That's 5 extra hours of data every month when you need it. It's enough to stream your favorite playlist for 5 long walks outside, or maybe one really long one. On all voice and data plans, only with Fido. Visit a Fido store or fido.ca for details.
680 News Time 3:48. In half an hour, the federal government will unveil its spending plans to manage the remainder of the COVID-19 crisis and chart an economic course in a post-pandemic Canada.
The Liberals' first budget in 2 years is expected to outline the government's plans for a national childcare system, including what strings will be attached to any spending. There are also expected to be measures to boost the supply of affordable housing and money aimed at greening the economy as the Liberals look to chart a path for promises on climate change. Meanwhile, Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland is being asked by provinces for more healthcare money, while hard-hit businesses, charities, and workers are looking for a pledge to keep aid flowing beyond the summer when many programs are slated to end. There's also a political element to the budget, as the government needs to find at least one other major party to support the document in confidence votes in the House of Commons. Terry Pedro, the Canadian Press, Ottawa.
In Minneapolis, the defense continues closing arguments in the Derek Chauvin murder trial.
Defense attorney Eric Nelson said Chauvin acted reasonably. Nelson played body cam video showing officers struggling to put Floyd in the squad car, telling the jury cell phone video of Chauvin on Floyd's neck completely disregards what happened before.
What he sees, at a minimum, is active resistance. Mr. Floyd's not just simply getting in the backseat of the car.
Prosecutor Steve Fletcher referring to that cell phone video
Was George Floyd resisting when he was trying to breathe? No. And the defendant heard it and he acknowledged it, and all he did was mock him. It takes a lot of oxygen to complain.
High security in Minneapolis in anticipation of unrest following a verdict, although it's unclear how long it will take the jury to reach one. Government buildings being fortified, schools in remote learning for part of the week. Lionel Moise, ABC News.
Traffic and weather is next. This is 680 News.
What's that noise?
Oh, that's a herd of cattle destroying our IT room.
At Cable Monkey, we won't let just any animals loose on your IT infrastructure. Cable Monkey offers high-quality installation, maintenance, and repair services focused on your commercial IT infrastructure. Structured cabling, camera systems, access control. Whatever you need, Cable Monkey has you covered. Higher quality, less expense, and no headaches. Cable Monkey. Get your free quote today at cablemonkey.org.
The spring blowout sale is on now at Dodge Garage Doors. Save hundreds of dollars on Dodge, the most reviewed, best reviewed, highest rated garage doors on the market. Consumer's Choice Award winners 21 years in a row. And now, huge savings on Dodge's exclusive top quality garage doors. Don't wait. Call now, because the spring blowout sale ends April 30th at Dodge Garage Doors.
DODDS. No one does it better than Dodge does. No one.
680 News Time 3:51. Time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Carrie Prunskis.
This report is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz Newmarket. Southbound on the 404, south of Aurora Road, only the left lane is open to traffic right now. It's because of a stalled vehicle, so a heavy backup southbound 404 as you head past Aurora Road, and then beyond that, it's a bit busy from Shepherd and the Collectors onto the 401 ramps. Now, this is also causing a bit of a delay on the northbound side of the 404. First of all, northbound DVP, that's slow from Baby Bloor to north of Lawrence. Then it gets jammed on the northbound 404 as you approach Aurora Road. Westbound on the 401, approaching the 400 and the Collectors, the right lane is blocked. That's another stalled vehicle. So it's backed up westbound 401 from Kiel to approaching the 400, just in the collector lanes. The express lanes are moving pretty well. Thankfully, that problem northbound Dixie, north of the 401, has cleared. So we should see these delays getting onto the Dixie ramp from the westbound 401 improve. But for the time being, it's still really heavy westbound 401 from the 427 and the collectors onto the Dixie ramp. Eastbound on the 401, busy from east of the 427 to the 400 in the express. Opens up for a long stretch after that. If you're heading into the Durham region, expect delays just from Westney to east of Salem, so not too bad. Southbound on the 400 at Bayfield, MTO is reporting construction in the left lane, so be careful through that stretch. No delays on either side of the 400. If you're heading out of downtown on the westbound Gardner, it's busy from Jarvis to west of Strawn. Northbound 427 is jammed at the top end as you approach the 407 onto the Highway 7 ramp. All 2020 models must go at Mercedes-Benz Newmarket. Enjoy 0% financing and prepaid maintenance on select models. By appointment only. See dealer for details. And now with the extended forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
Well, we are watching for a little bit of rain make its way in tonight, as those clouds will increase, and then temperatures will drop down to about 12 to 13 degrees this evening, down to 3 during the overnight, and that's because there's a cold front that's going to roll through, and it is certainly going to make itself known tomorrow. 6 is the high for Tuesday, cloudy, and we're watching for that snow Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning. We could pick up anywhere between 2 to 5 centimeters across the region, certainly looking like the possibility for a little more is definitely in the cards with these snow showers making their way in. So Tuesday night's low -2, and then only getting up to 3 degrees on Wednesday. So a real taste of winter returns. We have wind chills in the forecast and really gusty winds as well, and even a little bit of lake enhancement coming our way on Wednesday. And right now it's 17 at Pearson, 15 at 680 News. Our guaranteed high today, 16.
Coming up at 4 o'clock, details from the federal government on the new budget. All that at the top of the hour.
Every day in Canada, 3,000 mortgages renew. Important announcement. If your mortgage renews in the next 90 days, contact butlermortgage.ca. 1.15% 5-year variable rate at renewal. No gimmicks, no fees. It's the same mortgage as your bank. If you qualify, you save thousands. 1.15% 5-year variable mortgage at butlermortgage.ca.
License number 12118, high ratio variable rate, APR 1.16%.
You're listening
to 680 News. NDP leader Janmeet Singh is urging Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to declare a public welfare emergency under the Emergencies Act. He says Ontario's COVID-19 situation is catastrophically bad and essential workers need help.
We know that workers aren't able to take time off to get vaccinated or to stay home when they're sick. So we're calling on the government to use the Emergencies Act, specifically a public health emergency, and provide specific help to get to those communities that are hard hit to help workers stay safe.
Singh says he wants Trudeau to meet with opposition leaders and premiers so they can work together on solutions that will protect Canadians. Your business report is next. 680 News Time, 3:55.
5-star Google reviews are the best reviews any company can get. This drumbeat represents one. Many companies have some. And this is how many Search Kings has. Search Kings has hundreds of 5-star Google reviews. No wonder Google hand-selected Search Kings as a Google Premier Partner. And they're Canadian. You want to stand out where your customers are online? Switch to Search Kings.
The great thing about MapleAutomall.ca, you can stay at home and still shop for a car. Even better, Maple Auto Mall is open by appointment. You can come in and shop for a car, online or in person. Shop all your favorite brands in one place. Honda, Toyota, Mazda, Hyundai, Nissan, Volkswagen, and Acura. One place, thousands of cars. Easy. Book an appointment to see us. Visit MapleAutomall.ca.
Part of the Zankin Auto Group. 680 News Time, 3:56. Now your business report. Let's head on over to Richard Silver.
Hey, Caitlin, shares in Tesla moving lower today after quite the tragic and perhaps very notable incident that happened in Texas over the weekend. 2 men died in a Tesla in Spring, Texas, Saturday night, and it appeared neither of them were behind the wheel. A 2019 Tesla Model S crashed into a tree and burst into flames. One person was found in the front passenger seat, the other in the rear passenger seat. Based on an early investigation, police told local media they believe neither man had been behind the wheel. The Tesla cars are famous for their autopilot mode, which can use the computer to drive the car for you. There's cameras and whatnot, and the car can basically autonomously drive itself. However, Tesla has always warned that the vehicles are not capable of controlling the car in all driving circumstances. Still, many Tesla fans have been posting videos that show them driving hands-free for prolonged periods, sleeping behind the wheel and whatnot. We got Tesla shares right now down 3.6%. Check that, $712. The current price on Tesla. Coming up to the end of the trading day, it's a down one for the main benchmarks. The TSX falls 145 points, 19,205. Dow Industrials down 132 points, holding above 34K though. S&P down 24 points, 0.6%, and the Nasdaq down 149. Traders take some profits off the table after the good week that we saw last week. There are some notable upside movers. Coca-Cola's higher on an earnings beat. GameStop shares having a good day. The stock's up 6.5%, above $164, as the company details new plans to replace its CEO. And the Canadian dollar moving lower, down 0.15 cents to 79.75 cents US. Okay, you're not going to want to go anywhere because we have the federal budget coming up in just minutes. The first federal budget in 2 years. We're going to have full coverage with our Mike Apple and our Cormac McSweeney. That and the rest of the top stories are next on 680 News.
439 Pizza Nova. 439 Pizza Nova.
Ciao, I'm Dominic Prinucci. We've been buzzing to bring you another signature pizza sensation. We call it the Honey Stinger. Made with hot soppressata, sun-dried black olives, drizzled with chili pepper-infused honey. Find out what all the buzz is about and taste the difference. 439 Pizza Nova.
After a night out with your friends, not having a plan for a safe ride home can have dire consequences. You could end up riding in a police car, an ambulance, or even a hearse. These unplanned choices for transportation are costly and do not take you home. I'm Chuck Cox with the Highway Safety Division of the Ontario Provincial Police, asking you to choose your ride and always have a plan for a safe ride home.
Visit arrivalive.org to find out more. And thanks for driving sober.
Now, 680 News regional weather conditions for Hickory Dickory Decks. Celebrating over 30 years of custom decks and happy customers, Hickory Dickory Decks offers the widest selection of low maintenance decking. Enjoy life outdoors. Visit decks.ca. 680 News time, 4 o'clock.
Toronto's #1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News.
Good afternoon. It's Monday, April 19th. I'm James Monroe.
And I'm Kate Lumley. Here's what's making news this hour.
With breaking news from Ottawa, the Trudeau government set to roll out the latest federal budget. Full coverage in seconds.
Ontario sees another 4,000 plus new cases of COVID-19 in a single day. People continue to get sicker. The situation is being called dire.
If you're 35 years of age or older and live in one of 5 York Region hotspots, you're eligible for a COVID vaccine. While the province says it's expecting delays in deliveries of the AstraZeneca vaccine.
So the Maple Leafs are waiting word on the status of forward Zach Hyman. It's also an off day for the Jays and the Raptors. Sports at 15.
Closing bell ringing on Wall Street, and it's a money-losing Monday. The Dow drops 118 points. TSX slides almost 150. Business at 26.
680 News time, 4:01.
Traffic and weather together on the one. Zach Bodenstein.
This report brought to you by Sportsnet. And right now we have a few problems on the go. South 404, south of Aurora Road. Stalled vehicle now blocking one right lane, so not seeing 3 closed anymore. It's just the one. Slow from Aurora Road to south of it, then busy south 404 heading towards the 401. Westbound Gardner and QEW delays. Jarvis to west of Strawn, approaching Appleby to Walkers. North DVP's busy north of Bayview Bloor to north of Lawrence. And then north 404 delays through Aurora Road. Again, that's because of that southbound 404 issue. Westbound 401 approaching the 400 in the collectors. Right lanes blocked to the stalled vehicle. It's slow from Kiel towards the 400 in the collector lanes. And then we have a delay west 401 from the 427 in the collectors to the Dixie Rand. It's because of problems on northbound Dixie, but they've cleared. And then west US 401's busy West of Mavis Express towards Mississauga Road. For the Toronto Raptors, the story isn't over. No time to be idle. Every game, every play, every second is vital. Watch the story unfold on Sportsnet. With a look at the forecast now, good afternoon, Carl Lamb.
Thanks, Zach, and it is a pleasant afternoon out there, but as temperatures continue to drop this evening, we're headed down to about 12 degrees during the evening and then 3 for an overnight low, and temperatures will not rebound all that much once we get into tomorrow. We're dealing with rain showers tonight, and they'll clear out once we get into the overnight hours as well. Right now it is 17 at Pearson, 15 at 680 News, and tonight's overnight low 3 degrees.
This is 680 News.
With breaking news from Ottawa, it is federal budget day, and this latest fiscal document is expected to be spending heavy to try to steer the country through the third wave. We will have full coverage from 680's Mike Eppel and our Parliament Hill reporter Cormac McSweeney in moments. But first, the latest on the fight against the spread. Ontario's COVID case count remains in the 4,000s today. We've broken a record when it comes to the test positivity rate. We do have plenty news on the vaccination front. This, as we're being warned, the situation in our hospitals has become dire.
680's Irene Franklin joins us with more, including today's case count. 4,447 new cases, not a record, but the 10.5 testing positivity rate today is. 2,202 people in the hospital, 755 of those in the ICU, 516 of those on ventilators, all records. Dr. Lawrence Lowe is Peel's top doctor. He says the case counts and hospitalizations in the region are the worst they've been since the pandemic started. He's urging everyone who is eligible to get whatever vaccine is offered to them first.
One of the things that we don't have the luxury of right now is time. And at our transmission rates the way they are, the longer you delay getting a vaccine, that is additional time that you are unprotected against this virus.
For those hesitant about the AstraZeneca vaccine, Dr. Lowe points out that vaccine is what helped the UK get out of the third wave. I'm Irene Precklet.
So meanwhile, Queen's Park, the Premier MIA, leaving his ministers facing the tough questions after a weekend that saw the government roll back some of the restrictions announced on Friday.
It was nothing short of a politically disastrous weekend for the Ford government, but the Premier didn't show up to the legislature today. He left it up to his ministers, like House Leader Paul Calandra, to admit.
Have we been perfect? Absolutely not. We will not, and we will continue to make mistakes. It wasn't our best weekend communication-wise.
Liberal leader Stephen Del Duca says it is time for Premier Ford to go.
I am calling on Doug Ford to do the honorable and right thing, to recognize his own limitations and to resign.
Meantime, Health Minister Elliott was asked who recommended the government start carding people.
We are not recommending province-wide carding either.
Well, Minister, that is exactly what your government brought into effect on Friday and sheepishly rescinded on Saturday.
Carding was never our intention. What our intention was to reduce the mobility of people.
But I on Queen's Park, I'm Richard Southern.
Breaking news on the vaccine front. York Region Public Health is lowering its vaccine age limit in specific hotspots. This is over 40 and older begin to register for AstraZeneca shots at pharmacies across the province. 680's Momin Qureshi joins us with everything you need to know. Momin.
Caitlin, things continuing to open up. York Region side when it comes to the vaccine rollout. The Public Health Agency for York Region announcing that if you are 35 years of age or older and live in one of those 5 designated hotspots, you can begin registering for a COVID vaccine starting tomorrow morning at 8:30. So there's 5 specific postal codes that have been listed. You can find that list at 680news.com. Now, as we know, as of tomorrow, the province has said anybody 40 years of age and older can get a AstraZeneca vaccine. That registration opened up today for tomorrow. Lots of people have been trying to do it online. Some people have been having success. Others are having trouble. We know the Rogers cell phone outage has been playing a little bit of a hamper with people trying to get their registration because you need a text confirmation for some of the online portals for some of the bigger providers out there like Shoppers Drug Mart and Costco. So some people having success getting their appointments, some people still trying. But we do know that also the province has said today from the Premier's office that they've been told that they're expecting a delay in shipments of AstraZeneca vaccines this month and next. However, there is a need for clarification here that we're still waiting to get as to what that means and how much of it could be delayed. Reporting live, I'm Momin Qureshi.
Meanwhile, the mayor is touting a Team Toronto approach as the city closes in on the 1 millionth vaccination. 680's Mark Douglas joins us live with the latest from John Tory. Mark.
James, 2 quotes from Toronto's top doctor today. Good news is in short supply,
And it's obvious now we are into the worst part of the pandemic so far. But that's not all, she said.
Each milestone should be celebrated.
I asked Dr. Eileen Davila and Mayor John Tory how close is the city to giving out its 1 millionth vaccination. They agree it does depend on the vaccine supply allocated to the city over the next few days, but
We should be able to hit that target soon.
And so if we can just get the supply, whether it's through reallocation or through better luck on the deliveries, just watch us go. And 1 million will be, in the past.
Tory and Davila also praising the success of all the pop-up vaccination clinics Toronto has seen so far. In particular, one that was set up on a basketball court on Tobermory Drive just on Saturday, where 3,140 people got their shot.
We have to start focusing on some of our positive achievements in this because, people do need a bit of hope.
Reporting live, I'm Mark Douglas.
Happening now, plenty of Rogers users across the country continue to deal with a service outage. 680's Phil Martino has more.
Rogers mobile customers across the country began reporting service issues this morning. Some cannot make or receive calls, while others can make calls but cannot use data. Rogers Communications Partnership says, "We know how important it is to stay connected and are working hard to restore services for customers who are experiencing interruptions with wireless voice and data. This could create issues if you are trying to call 911. Toronto Police Communications says if you get through to 911, give the emergency location and do not hang up until directed by the call taker at Toronto Police. Meantime, Scarborough Health Network says this outage is affecting computer systems at 2 SHN vaccine clinics at Care First and The Hub, which are powered by Rogers. Clinic operations are following downtime procedures, and vaccine appointments are continuing safely and without interruption. I'm Phil Martino.
This just in, the 680 News from Ottawa. The latest federal budget has just dropped, and 680's Mike Epple joins us live with what he's seeing. Mike.
Yeah, good afternoon, James. The first budget for the Trudeau government as a minority government, the first in over 2 years, and delivered by female Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, an historic event on that note. A budget that has a record-breaking deficit, record debt loads, billions of dollars being spent to help the struggling economy through the current ravages of the pandemic, and then the establishment of some very large national programs and no projections to balance the books over the next 5 years. The Trudeau government says, though, that now is the time to spend borrowing the money at near record low cost and targeting the inequalities that have been exposed during the pandemic. The finance minister, in her budget this afternoon, looking at a new national child care program to be run by the provinces with a target to bring child care costs down to $10 per day, similar to what is already in place in Quebec. The price tag way above some of the earlier reports, $30 billion over 5 years and $8.5 billion per year thereafter. The objective to get women who were hardest hit during the shutdown of the economy back into the workforce and also lowering costs for families. For businesses and those still in sectors that are adversely affected by COVID restrictions, the budget is also calling for an extension of the emergency wage subsidy program and rent relief programs through September of this year at a cost of $12 billion. Other big spending items include $18 billion for Indigenous communities and aimed at reconciliation and infrastructure, $3 billion over 5 years, targeting support toward long-term care homes, $9 billion over 6 years to expand the Canada Worker Benefit. That supports about 1 million lower-income Canadians, and billions more in programs to expand support to underserved communities, and $5 billion going toward student and youth job creation programs. Also, green initiatives with $5 billion going to business to upgrade their technologies to get to net zero emissions output. Okay, how much is this all costing? $101 billion in new spending. Overall deficit, $354 billion. That's below the target that was talked about in the fall fiscal update, but still the largest deficit on record, and no plans to balance the books. They go out as far as 5 years, $30 billion in deficit still in 2025-26. The net debt load for the country going from $1.1 trillion all the way up to $1.4 trillion in 5 years' time. The credit rating agencies have been looking over that. But again, the debt to GDP ratio coming down slightly to just less than 50%. Covering the federal budget, I'm Mike Upple.
Now, some are calling this a possible pre-election budget with plenty on the line for Justin Trudeau. 680's Parliament Hill reporter Cormac McSweeney continues our coverage.
With this first budget for this minority Liberal government, Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland says the plan for the economy is smart, responsible, and ambitious.
It is designed precisely to heal the specific wounds of the COVID recession and to permanently strengthen Canada's economic muscle.
She highlights the proposed child care plan as something that will transform our economy and says the ongoing supports to get us through the pandemic and the $100 billion to stimulate the economy will make Canada stronger. However, amid growing speculation of a potential election, Conservatives have been pre-framing this budget as risky record spending. The NDP had been demanding measures like permanent paid sick leave and a new tax bracket for the wealthy, neither of which made the cut. The Liberals need just one-party support to survive a confidence vote on this budget, and even though his demands haven't been met, New Democrat leader Jagmeet Singh has suggested he may not try to take down the feds.
It would be unsafe, and it would be unfair to Canadians to have an election right now.
Well, some political experts say they expect an election closer to the fall. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
Now the Dynamic Funds Market Minute.
Hello, James. Got the TSX closing the day lower along with Wall Street. Bay Street losing 146 points today, down to 19,204. The Dow dropping 123 points, closing out at 34,077. The S&P down 0.5%, and the Nasdaq settles down a full percentage point. Price of gold down to $1,770, and the Canadian dollar 79.76 cents US. This is 680 News.
Being active is better than being reactive. Dynamic Funds doesn't just take what the market gives. Ask a financial advisor about active management and learn more at dynamic.ca/advice.
I'm so happy. I'm happy. I'm so happy. I'm happy. I'm so happy. I'm happy.
If you're dealing with erectile dysfunction or want to enhance your performance, talk to Revita Medical. They've helped over 1.2 million guys worldwide. Visit revitamedical.ca and things could be looking up for you.
I'm happy in my pants today.
Hey, it's Dina and Sam from Breakfast Television here to tell you about a contest called
I Wake Up with BT.
You Can Win $1,000 just by answering the phone with
I Wake Up with BT.
Enter at bttoronto.ca and watch Breakfast Television just after 8 to play
I Wake Up with BT.
If your phone rings, the phrase that pays is
Okay, I've said it 3 times. If they don't get it by now, they don't deserve the $1,000.
I Wake Up with BT weekday morning
on City TV.
Number 1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News.
Overcast in downtown Toronto at 16 degrees. Good afternoon. I'm James Monroe.
And I'm Caitlin Lee. Here are the top stories this hour.
Quick breaking news on Budget Day in Ottawa. The third wave pandemic fiscal document is out. It is heavy on big spending. The finance minister, Chrystia Freeland's first budget plan is also widely being looked at as a pre-election platform. More than $100 million in new spending over the next 3 years amid record-smashing deficits. Full coverage straight ahead. Latest Wave 3 tsunami daily COVID data seeing records in almost all categories. 6 straight days of more than 4,000 new infections, a record positivity rate of more than 10%. Hospitalizations, ICU patients, also at unprecedented levels. York Region Public Health will begin accepting vaccine appointments for those 35 and up, living in 5 high-priority areas as of tomorrow morning. Time now for 680 Sports. Here's Alex.
Hey, James, Vancouver Canucks defenseman Alex Edler will have a hearing with the Department of Player Safety for last night's knee-on-knee collision with Toronto's Zach Hyman. Leafs are expected to update Hyman's status after practice today. The rematch in Vancouver goes tomorrow. Baseball this afternoon on Patriots Day. The Boston Red Sox beat the White Sox 11-4 the final. Red Sox with 3 home runs. JD Martinez 3 for 5 with 2 RBI. Jays will be at Fenway Park tomorrow for the beginning of a 2-game series. Jays are 7-8 7-9 on the season. Yuta Watanabe is on a two-way deal no longer after signing a standard NBA contract with the Raptors this morning. Blake Murphy reporting the deal covers this year and next. Raptors host Brooklyn on Wednesday. And after 17 months on the job, Jose Mourinho has been fired as manager of Tottenham. Spurs sat first place back in December, but have since fallen to 7th in the EPL. We do have one game on the go right now. Sadio Mane has given Liverpool a 1-0 lead over Leeds United. Sports at 15 and 45 past every hour or anytime at sportsnet.ca/590.
Hi, Steve here. Always, but especially during these uneven times, our homes have become our castle, and I have a few of our great team members here to tell you why.
Hi, I'm Sharon, the sales consultant, and to me, our home is my refuge with my family and soon our friends.
Bob here. I specialize in our social and digital programs, and to me, home is where I rest, exercise, and when the time comes, socialize.
I am Vanessa, a store manager. For me and my husband, our home is the center of who we are.
Daniel here, the warehouse manager. I love to chill with my dog and enjoy sports and video games on my TV in my comfy surroundings.
I'm Aya, and I'm a sales rep in Mississauga. Our family cooks and enjoys the togetherness of our home. I'm lucky that way.
And I'm Ted. Gina and I love the escape and safe harbor of our home and cottage. And our new puppy Jeter does too. Right, Jeter?
While we're closed, go to our website because no one does home better than the Chesterfield shop.
This is 680 News in the U.S. Closing arguments continue in the murder trial of Derek Chauvin.
Defense attorney Eric Nelson said Chauvin used his training and did not use extreme force when he restrained George Floyd, also discrediting the dangers of a prone position.
Consider just a basic prone position. People sleep in the prone position. People suntan in the prone position. People get massages in the prone position.
Nelson saying jurors should consider what happened outside the 9 minutes and 29 seconds of video where Chauvin is seen kneeling on Floyd's neck. ABC's Mark Remillard on what prosecutors said.
Prosecutors telling the jury that it is not the police on trial, that the case is not the state of Minnesota versus the police. It's the state of Minnesota versus Derek Chauvin. Prosecutors called Chauvin's actions not policing, but assault. They also told jurors that George Floyd is not on trial either, and to use their common sense and believe their eyes when they consider what killed George Floyd, saying that it was not Floyd's health or drug toxicity, but Derek Chauvin's actions.
Lionel Moise, ABC News.
Well, a day after announcing half the adult population stateside now at least partially vaccinated, the Biden administration says it's hit another milestone.
We also have good news.
In a video message, President Biden says all Americans 16 and older are now eligible for vaccines. For those who think it's still too hard to get one,
It is never been easier.
White House Virus Response Advisor Andy Slavitt says more than 90% of Americans now live within 5 miles of a vaccination site. But even as the administration touts vaccination progress,
We still have an extraordinary amount of disease out there.
CDC Chief Rochelle Walensky warns new virus cases are still rising, especially among the younger, unvaccinated Americans. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Traffic and weather next, 6 News, time 420.
Hi, Anthony Longo here with a hot tip. Our delicious hot bar is now full service. Yep, the tastiest foods prepared fresh in-store and served up for you, ready to take home. Or have them delivered by Uber Eats. And for just $10, you can get tasty meals like meatballs and pasta. Order in-store or online for takeout. It'll be the best $10 you'll spend all week, or next week, or the week after that. For quality that meets your family standards, trust ours. Longo's.
Hi, it's Fido. When it comes to downloading maps to find your way, don't let your data plan hold you back. Get a data boost from Fido with 5 hours of unlimited data at no extra cost. That's 5 extra hours of data every month when you need it. It's enough to keep you on the road for that extra scenic route. On all voice and data plans, only with Fido. Visit a Fido store or fido.ca for details.
680 News Time, 421.
Traffic and weather together, Zach.
This report's brought to you by your Toronto area Ford dealers. And westbound 401, problems approaching the 400 cleared. Westbound 401's actually up to speed until you head towards Mavis and the Express. It's slow from there to approaching Mississauga Road. Eastbound 401 delayed, Dixon to the 400 Express and Collectors. And then from east of Westney to east of Salem. Southbound 404 problems south of Aurora Road are gone. gone, so are those delays. You'll still find the South 404 busy from Shepherd Collectors towards the 401, and then westbound Gardner's busy approaching Spadina to west of Strawn. Now, problems on the northbound 427. All lanes are affected approaching Rexdale with some tire debris. We gave MTO a call about 10 minutes ago or so, hopefully that is picked up soon. A crew should be out there shortly. Northbound 410 delays approaching Clark to Sandalwood, and northbound DVP slow right now from Don Mills to north of Lawrence. Right now, get 0.99% purchase financing for up to 72 months on most new 2021 Ford Explorer models. For details, contact your Toronto area Ford dealer or visit Ford.ca. With an extended look at the forecast now, here's Carl Lamb.
Oh, well, where to start? Well, we're going to be dealing with a little bit of rain shower activity tonight. Temperatures during that time will be around 12 degrees, but then comes the cold front. Temperatures dropping down to 3 degrees during the overnight, so a big change by tomorrow morning. And then for Tuesday, we're only headed up to 6 degrees. It's cloudy pretty much all day long. There will be a bit of a breeze out there as well, and then the snow approaches tomorrow evening, and this is going to be that wet snow that we contend with, and that's going to make its way in. We're talking 1 to 3 centimeters during the overnight from Tuesday into Wednesday. Areas at higher elevations see higher totals, and then Wednesday we're only getting up to 3 degrees, and we will have morning snow. It impacts the drive for sure, and then some lake enhancement for the afternoon. A northwest wind is going to make it feel mighty cold. So we've got a real taste of winter coming our way. Right now it's 16 at Pearson, 14 at 680 News. Tonight's overnight low, 3 degrees.
Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we have breaking news on Budget Day in Ottawa. The third wave pandemic fiscal document now out. It is heavy on big spending, affordable childcare, supporting the workforce, and equality in the economy. Some of the key highlights. Full coverage straight ahead.
You've been at home for a while. Your office is at home. Your gym is at home. Your social life is at home. Virtually, dining out is now dining in. It's time to invest in your health and sanity with a relaxing massage chair from Relaxa-Care, Canada's massage chair specialists. Choose from a huge selection of chairs, including L-track models, full body and luxury massage models, and enjoy deep relaxation at home 24/7. Now, being stuck at home doesn't need to be so stressful. Order today at relaxacare.ca.
News is always changing.
Now more than ever.
Listen 3, 4, 5 times a day.
This is 680 News.
Ask to play us on your smart speaker.
This is All News Radio 680 News. A suspected international drug network has been shut down by police in the GTA. York and Peel police teaming up with the RCMP, U.S. drug enforcement, to take down the ring that has ties to Western Canada, the U.S. and India. This York inspector says they seized about $2.3 million worth of drugs, including cocaine, opium, and heroin.
Particular concern when we look at heroin, a very insidious drug causing great harm to our community. A number of kilograms are alleged to be seized from a playland in Brampton. So we can see the, not only the effects in the community, but the real significant risk that it puts to the children.
Investigators seized 48 guns, more than $700,000 in cash. Richie's next. 680 News Time, 425.
I've got a craving for some McDonald's fries. Crispy, golden, hot. McDonald's fries. The official fries of the Toronto Raptors three-pointers.
As roads resurface and new possibilities with them, now is a great time to experience the difference in Volvo. Meticulously designed with your journey in mind, every exacting detail comes together to take you on a ride like no other. It's driving season. Visa finance Volvo XC40 T5 from 2.9% and save $1,000. Conditions apply. Visit your local GTA Volvo retailer or volvocars.ca.
680 News Time, 426.
Now, 680 Business Report, Richard Southern.
Well, James, we're talking a lot about this, and we should, because it is a big story. The Rogers outage that continues to take place here, not only, irking customers, but experts are saying could also have very much a big economic impact as well. Rogers customers experiencing an outage affecting both cell phone calls and text messages. Users say they've been unable to place or receive cell phone calls and text messages for many hours. Rogers apologizing for the outage on Twitter, writing, quote, "We sincerely apologize to our customers." Going on to say, quote, "We know connectivity is critical and we are working hard to restore services." In addition to personal communications being disrupted, experts say the outage is impacting business sales and services like food delivery and curbside pickup. Payments that require a wireless connection obviously being impacted here, as is the ability to work remotely. Of course, we rely on technology now more than ever, with so many people working at home. Rogers pointing out that its wireline internet services have not been impacted. Also not impacted, Rogers stock. It closed higher on Bay Street, up 1.8% at $61.68. We're going to keep you updated on this outage. We have a reporter assigned to the story. And, of course, Rogers, the parent company of this radio station. On to the broader markets now, where we did see Monday losses. The TSX down 146 points to 19,204. Traders taking some profits here after a strong week last week. The Dow closed down 123 points to 34,077. S&P 500 down 0.5%. The Nasdaq's down 137 points. In the after-hours trade, though, IBM stock hitting higher. It just reported better than expected earnings and revenue. So Big Blue on the move higher in the after-hours trade. A couple of interesting stock moves to keep an eye on today, or that we did keep an eye on. Peloton was one of them. Peloton stock down 7.25% after the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission issued a warning about its treadmill being potentially dangerous to children or pets. Tesla shares closed the day down 3.7%. 2 people were killed in a Tesla car in Texas over the weekend. Neither of them were in the driver's seat at the time. One was in the passenger seat, the other in the back seat, though it's not yet clear whether the car's driver assist system was being used. To the upside, GameStop gained 6.33% to $164 after the company announced that its current CEO would step down by July 31st. Canadian dollar, it's down to 79.75 cents US. Full details on the federal budget and the rest of the day's top stories just seconds away on 680 News.
Hey fellas, what good is a tool if it's not rigid? Rigid Power Tools. Orange and black, leading the pack. Because Rigid Power Tools have the industry's only lifetime service agreement. Free batteries for life, free parts for life, and free service for life. For on the job or a job around the house. Rigid.
Rigid Tools. Performance for life. Rigid Tools. Available exclusively at the Home Depot.
Mazda wants you to discover the drive. Discover why Mazda 3 is the Automobile Journalists Association of Canada's 2021 Canadian Car of the Year. Discover performance with an available turbocharged engine in the CX-5 or CX-30. And discover luxury with CX-9 sophisticated 7-passenger seating. Right now, receive 0.5% purchase financing on select models and up to a $1,000 Mazda bonus on select new Mazdas. Contact your local Mazda dealer or visit Mazda.ca for details.
Overcast in downtown Toronto and 16 degrees. 680 News time at the Double Tones will be 4:30.
Toronto's #1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News.
Good afternoon. It's Monday, April 19th. I'm Caitlin White.
And I'm James Monroe. Here's what's making news right now.
The Trudeau government looks to spend its way out of the pandemic. $101 billion in new spending in the federal budget, including a national child care program with a deficit at more than $350 billion.
It's another record-breaking COVID-19 day in Ontario. This with more people than ever before testing positive and hospitalizations climbing to new heights.
If you live in one of 5 York Region hotspots and are 35 years of age or older, you're now eligible for a COVID vaccine. The province says it's expecting delays in deliveries of the AstraZeneca vaccine.
Having issues with your phone today? Rogers Wireless customers across the country are reporting service disruptions. Rogers says it's working to resolve the problem.
It is a 2-game suspension for Alex Edler, who went knee-on-knee with Zach Hyman last night. And Patrick Marleau is about to surpass Mr. Hockey. Sports at 45.
Well, the Bears were out in the Monday trade. Losses for the Toronto and New York exchanges, plus big bonuses being doled out to executives at Canadian Tire and Loblaws. Business at 50 cents.
680 News Time, 4:31.
Time for traffic and weather together on the ones brought to you by Lexus of Richmond Hill. Let's go up to Chopper 680 with Jordan Kerr.
Good afternoon. Well, it's not too bad right now in busy spots, but eastbound 401 is slow going from Kipling to the 400 in the Express and into Durham. It's slow east of Westley to east of Salem. Westbound 401 delays approaching Davis in the Express to approaching Mississauga Road. That's really it for 401 volume. No issues to pass along right now. For the 680 Traffic Center, here's Zach Bodie.
On the northbound 427 approaching Rexdale, we have tire debris still scattered across all lanes. MTO sending a crew out. Should be picked up pretty soon. Meantime, northbound DVP delays Don Mills to north of Lawrence, and southbound 404 delays approaching Shepherd Collectors towards the 401. Lease a 2021 NX300 F Sport Series 1 from Lexus of Richmond Hill and receive a $3,000 F Sport credit. Details at lexusofrichmondhill.com. With a look at the forecast, here's Carl Lamb.
Well, we have a line of showers headed our way. It's back towards the Shelburne, Orangeville, out towards Kitchener, Waterloo right now, making its way towards us here in the GTA. So don't be surprised to see those clouds thicken up, especially if you're northwest of the city. And rain showers moving in. Temperatures during the evening around 12 degrees. Much different story during the overnight because the cold front's going to move through, dropping us down to 3 degrees. And then tomorrow's high just 6. And then we're watching for snow Tuesday night. Right now it is 16 at Pearson, 14 at 680 News. Tonight's overnight low is 3.
That's the 680 News.
Breaking news from Ottawa, where the first federal budget in 2 years has been unveiled, and it's a big spender.
Over $100 billion with a B being shelled out over 3 years. We begin our coverage with 680's Mike Epple. Mike.
Yeah, indeed, James, good afternoon. There are some multi-billion-dollar programs in Finance Minister Chrysler Freeland's first budget and others in the multi-million-dollar category. But as you say, $101 billion in new spending over 3 years and a record-breaking deficit at $354 billion. As the Trudeau government says, now is the time to borrow money because interest rates are at rock-bottom prices. This budget targets Canadians hardest hit by the pandemic. Women, marginalized communities, numerous initiatives unveiled, the largest being plans for a national child care program at a cost of $30 billion over 5 years. The goal is to bring daycare costs down initially by 50% and then to just $10 per day over a 5-year time frame. But the provinces are going to have to sign on to all this. For businesses and those still in sectors adversely affected by COVID restrictions, the Trudeau government is extending the emergency wage subsidy and rent relief programs through September. That's going to cost $12 billion. There's $13 billion over 5 years for Indigenous communities aimed at reconciliation and infrastructure. $3 billion over 5 years, targeting support toward long-term care homes across the country. $9 billion over 6 years to expand the Canada Worker Benefit. That supports about 1 million lower-income Canadians. For students, there will be a moratorium on interest payments on student debt for another 6 months. Billions being spent on apprenticeship training and the Canada Summer Jobs Program. And green initiatives to the tune of about $5 billion in incentives for business to upgrade their technologies to get to zero emissions output. Now, how is this all going to be paid for? Well, again, most of it is through deficit financing, but the federal government is bringing in some new taxes on big tech companies, a 3% levy starting next year against the likes of Google and Amazon and Facebook. Luxury taxes on new cars over $100,000, private planes and pleasure boats worth more than $250,000, and a national tax on vacant properties owned by non-residents at 1% on the value of the property. Incidentally, cigarette taxes also going up as of midnight tonight by $4 per carton. With a $354 billion deficit, we're looking at the net debt for the country climbing from now $1.1 trillion all the way up to $1.4 trillion by 2025-26. No plans to balance the books between now and then. The deficit 5 years from now will still be pegged at around $30 billion. Covering the federal budget, I'm Mike Epple.
680 News Time 436. Well, as opposition parties prepare to slam the budget ahead of a potential election this year, the federal finance minister says this fiscal plan is one that will help transform the country. 680's Parliament Hill reporter Cormac McSweeney has more.
Smart, responsible, and ambitious. That's how Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland is framing the record spending amid an unprecedented pandemic. The centerpiece of this budget, of course, is the National Child Care Plan.
This is going to be a transformational social investment and a transformational economic investment.
Freeland says not only will this fiscal plan make the workforce more equal and the feds will create hundreds of thousands of jobs, but it will also provide the foundation to strengthen our economy for the years ahead. But opposition parties already critical of the plan